Looking for the best astrology guidance? You can enjoy an entire month of personalized astrology services for just $3.99. At Serious Joy, we pride ourselves on providing astrology enthusiasts with exactly what they're looking for. Daily personalized inspiration that speaks directly to the heart. Sign up today and you'll receive personalized messages straight to your phone 7 days a week. And that's just half of it. You'll also get access to our exclusive members-only site with tons of amazing features. Experience the most accurate astrology service on the web at SeriousJoy.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Namaste today. My name is Christopher Wojtecki, the sensei to Serious Joy at your soul service here. Excited to be streaming live today. We're on every platform you can imagine: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, even Twitter, streaming live right now. This show is live on Friday, August 18th, and I have to do the song, "It's Friday, thank God it's Friday." And I'm grateful that it's Friday. Let me tell you, this week has been very strange energetically. A lot of things going down. I think we can feel it in the universe. The Venus retrograde has hit a really weird spot. Let's say hi to our community, though. Hello, EB. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Pooh Bear. I love that. That's awesome. Hello, Ida. Hello, Jill Louise. It's so nice to see you back. This is like a spiritual family. This is almost a little reunion we have every week, isn't it? And we have this awesome technology that allows us to bring all of our chats from all these different platforms in. So it doesn't really matter where you want to watch the show. We're all in this live dynamic chat together, and that's all part of this technology that we're licensing, which is just great. As I mentioned, we are in a weird spot right now. We're in a Venus retrograde. We're on the cusp of a Mercury retrograde. We have a lot of weird shift going down, if you haven't felt it already. And I have been talking to people off camera. It's not just me. Also, a tremendous amount of weird technology issues, things not going as people thought. Even in our own Serious Joy Personal Sensei service, we currently have our comment system down. Strange phenomenon as well. We're looking for new comment systems. So if you've been feeling weird, if you've been feeling the technology, you're not alone, friends. It's a weird time, actually, I think, as we move into these late degrees of Leo and move into Virgo this week, and as we move into that weird spot at the end of August, right? We're all used to this, where, I don't know, a lot of kids are starting school early these days. I know a lot of moms who sent their kids off to school this week. When I was a kid, we didn't go to school until after Labor Day, but now it's starting soon. But this is still that weird time where it's the end of the summer. You kind of don't want to go back to school, but you also are sick of the summer because you're bored. There's nothing else to do. We're in that weird zone. And right now it's weird because of a Venus retrograde. So before we dive into everything going on today, I think it'd be great to transition and take a look at the Zodiac Weather. We have your 7-day mood forecast and the 5-day mood forecast for the upcoming week. This Zodiac Weather is from Saturday, August 19th to Friday, August 25th, 2023. Starting off with the weekend ahead, it's going to be a weekend of committing to your heart's direction and the moon in Libra finding the balance of that commitment. Let's drill down. On Saturn Day, it's sunny and devoted. Step 26 means Saturn does rule Saturn Day. You're committing to your heart's destiny. And with the sun trining the nose at 26-degree Aries, this also means you're committing to a new characterization of yourself. On Sunday, it's sunny and sparkling. Step 27 means Mars rules the day. It's now time to act and initiate the magic of your creation. Move forward, and with the moon in Libra, you'll be balanced when you take that action. Now on to our weekday 5-day mood forecast. Looking at the week ahead, we wrap up the sun in Leo and we plunge into the sign of Virgo. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's sunny and glowing. Step 28 means that Earth rules the day, and we have 3 active yads in place this day. This is a day where you have to hold space and faith to hatch your golden egg project. And the moon moves into Scorpio by the end of the day, which means you may feel a little defensive going forward. On Tuesday, it's sunny and securing. Step 29 means Chiron rules the day. It's time to buckle up, Buttercup. You're getting tested on all matters of love and creativity. And with Venus squaring Jupiter, it's also a turning point between your heart's creation and how you're going to go about doing it. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and misty. Step 0 Virgo is the ruling step number. The sun has now transited into Virgo. That means the new meality has arrived. Mercury stations retrograde on this day, which begins a re-examination of the details necessary to pull off your intentions. On Thursday, it's sunny and optimistic. Step 1 means Leo and the sun rules the day. It's a new reality. You're witnessing the heart fully realized today. The moon is in Sagittarius, so you are feeling your story being updated. And with Mars trining Pluto, you may also sense that there's going to be a transformation of who's in control. And then on Friday, it's cloudy and shifting. Step 2 means the moon rules the day. And with the moon in Sagittarius, it means you are examining what you believe. You're also feeling the truth of your new reality with no details falling under the radar. And we're back. I'm loving the new emojis. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we actually had our own custom-made emojis made, little sunshines, by a company in Brazil. While I was down, basically, we transitioned those out. So I love my little emojis. They're so cute. They have good faces. We have a good show for you all today. We're going to talk about that here coming up. And we have a special guest today, Meghan Jones. She's a holistic integrative wellness coach, and she'll be our guest at AstroMingle at the end of the show. If you are watching for the first time, or if you're here on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe. We appreciate it. It helps the YouTube algorithm also push our content up. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. We appreciate that as well. And I do want to point out that most of my daily work and the deep integration of this material is from my personal sensei service, Serious Joy. We have a team of spiritual experts. We have a metaphysical minister. We have a sound healer, Kristen Ryder. Our metaphysical minister is Robbie Hunt. We have an angel expert, Devin Dewar. We have a top writer, Heather Exposito. We all come together and we provide this integrated content. And right now we're focusing on the Venus retrograde and also what we call the 40 days of self-love, where we do a journal prompt every day. We focus on connecting to our heart, and we focus on manifesting what I call the Golden Egg Project. And I'll be talking about that here in our upcoming Planets and Transit segment, how this is a very magical time right now, although it doesn't feel so magical because we are introducing a new timeline. Now, one thing I've noticed is that spirituality is not easy to do alone. And secondly, most people don't go to church anymore. We don't have spiritual communities. Even this community is virtual. It's all over the world. So if you're looking for like-minded people and you're looking for daily support, in fact, we are the backbone. We are the structure. Most people tell me that when I ask, what is your spiritual ritual? They say every morning, I listen to my pep talk on Serious Joy. I listen to Sound Drop with Kristen Ryder. I listen to Angel Intuitive with Devin Dewar, and then I pray, or then I go for a walk, or then I talk to God. So really, we are that structure for you. If you're interested, if you've never been a part of it, visit seriousjoy.com. It's just $3.99 for the first month. And if you want to cancel, you can cancel right away, and the service will not charge your credit card after that time. Come on down to seriousjoy.com. At the end of the show, I'll talk about some of the features we have going on. But now, with this exciting week ahead, it's time for our planets and transits. And we are back again. So nice to see everybody. Thanks for all the comments. I want everyone to know that I can see your comments as you are chatting and commenting. So please feel free to comment. We also have a moderator. Shout out to Noelle Way. She is our moderator. So if there's something not going right in your neck of the woods of where you're streaming, just bring it up in the comments, and one of our moderators will address it, or Noelle will address it. Actually, she is the moderator. She is the queen of it. Well, we're moving on to kind of a funky time. Now, every month at Serious Joy, I do the whole month ahead of time called the Mega Monthly Report, and I do it with the whole spiritual team. We all come on camera, and we all powwow about the astrology, and it's a good habit for me to look through the whole month before we get to the month, because I can always sort of feel out each of the weeks of each of the months. And this week that we're about to live is one of the funkiest energies I have felt in a long time. Not in a bad way, but what I call a surreal way. In fact, this week, the title of the week is The Magic Becomes Surreal. And I think that's due to the nature of how the planets are playing out. I'll get into the details of it, but we're at the end of Leo. We're moving into the beginning of Virgo. We have Venus retrograde. So there's a lot of past life stuff I think is coming up right now. And Mercury will station retrograde this week as well. So talk about a double weird. It's going to get a bit surreal. The subtitle of the week is I don't know what to think. And that comes from the Mercury retrograde that's going to end up happening. We have Mercury retrograde stationing on Wednesday, and it will be retrograde until September 15th. And so I think that that's going to make us kind of scratch our head and not really know how to frame up, how to communicate, how to really get our point across. So I think it's going to be a little weird in a tongue-tied perspective. The key question of the week, and this is really important, is where must I be forgiving? Where must I be forgiving? So let's talk about the big picture really quick before we dive down into the weekend itself. Where we are right now is in a transition. I think that's why things are a bit strange, because we are in a transition. The transition is from the story we were born to, which is the karma we were born to, and the problems and the issues and the triggers that we were born to. And we're moving on to what I call the story we were born to live. And I think we can all see that there's something building up in the world. We can feel, I'm sure you can, we can feel that the world is not going down the right pathway right now. You know, when it comes to everything, our food supply, our energy grid here in the United States, the fact that people are getting hacked all the time by foreign people, you know, putting your data as hostage, the violence that's growing in certain cities, like we've seen in Chicago and other cities throughout the nation. We're also seeing, of course, a huge divide in politics and how we should go forward. And we're obviously not having very good competency from our leadership. If it looks like the world is in decay, it's because it is. It is, and it has been. We've come to the end of a certain power structure that has been in place since the American Revolution, or you could also say a certain power structure that's been in place since Pluto was last in Capricorn, the late 1700s. And I believe every time Pluto comes back into Capricorn, there is a reboot of how the world empowers itself. This is the first time Pluto's been in Capricorn since the 1700s. It's a 249-year transit of Pluto. And so, here, as far as our awareness in the United States, being a relatively young country, this is the first time we've come full circle since we kicked off, you know, democracy, and the world also followed. And God bless our amazing wizard-like forefathers and foremothers that had such amazing ability to see into the future and see the potential corruption of humankind, right? Not only that, but my goodness, the weirdness that we experience with the weather. The weather has been upside down. Obviously, something not right going on in Hawaii. That is a terrible and sad situation. I just want to send some love and prayers to the people in Hawaii. I'm really so sorry that that happened to you. I'm on the same page as you. As it is very fishy. It does not look like Mother Nature's work. But nonetheless, it's all pointing to the fact that things are not right. And you may ask yourself, will things get right? Will we ever get on path? Now, I believe that we will. I believe that we have that potential in our hearts, that we are going to be moving forward. Oh, that's another point someone said too. Southern California has a hurricane headed for it. So prayers out to our Southern California people. It's going to be a tropical storm by the time it hits California, but another strange weather phenomenon, right? So in essence, you know, the world looks like it's in a bad shape, and you may wonder, is there a solution for it? And I say, yes, there is a solution. I'm looking at the solution right now. It's you. I believe, and this is just me theorizing here as a spiritual wizard, I believe that the last time that Pluto was in Capricorn and the birth of democracy happened, it was a different time where we had a small fraction of the educated population that were our forefathers and foremothers, and that small fraction of the population crafted and birthed democracy. And they were very intelligent in that they gave the power to the people. It was all based on we the people. But at that time, it was a rural America. It took a long time to have messages or communication reach the fingertips of our civilization. And so although we are a republic with a democracy of voting rights, we did not really have the power, each individual, to make those decisions to move forward. What's different about this Pluto Capricorn moment is we, the people, are now empowered. We're empowered in the sense that we're part of the grid of the internet. We're all connected with information. We all have access to resources. We have access to food. I'm not saying that everyone has the access they need. I think that's a huge problem. But we're at a place now where in the last Pluto Capricorn moment, it came down to a small handful of people that were pushing for, and even the ones who volunteered to be in the army for the Revolutionary War under George Washington, still a small fraction of the population. In fact, I've seen some studies that said about 30% of the nation at that time was for the revolution. 30% was completely sitting out and didn't agree with it, and 30% was on the fence. But as far as the number who were actually involved, I think that percentage was quite low. In this particular, what I call human re-evolution, I believe we are all going to be involved. I believe this is the moment when we really do begin to step into what I call a spiritual democracy. That's already the case, by the way. What I mean by spiritual democracy is that the net effect of everyone's energy has an effect on the world and on the population. I'll say that again. The net effect of everyone's energy has an effect on the world's population. Everyone's emotional tone, everyone's thoughts, this all comes together to form a fabric of what we call reality. And we're in this magical moment here with the sun in Leo to the sun in Virgo, where we arc between our heart's desires and our Virgo reality. So we're right on the precipice of rebooting reality. I'll talk more about that in just a moment. Now, it must be the case that your opinion matters and that your emotional tone matters, because if it didn't, there wouldn't be so much propaganda. There wouldn't be so much censorship. There wouldn't be so much effort to persuade the public to the right or to the left. I'm not even pointing to a direction. I'm just saying, look at how much persuasion there is. If we didn't have the power as the people, they would not bother to spend the money or waste the time on trying to persuade our opinions. That is proof alone that we are actually the ones that harbor all the power in the world, and we have the ability to communicate. And this is a moment, not so much a moment to stand up, not just yet, but stand up first in your hearts, to come into your power, to come into your light. So that brings us now to the sun in Leo. This year with the sun in Leo, we are now coming into our heart in a new way. And this has been what the Venus retrograde in Leo has also been about. As the sun has been moving up through Leo and we've been coming into the things our heart wants, Venus retrograde has been withdrawing our hearts from what doesn't serve us anymore. So we've been sort of withdrawing and also investing at the same time, this scissor effect. This week, actually, Sunday of this last week, we had the Cazimi where the sun and Venus conjoined. And I believe that was the point when everyone was done with releasing old future plans, let go of what plans they had for the future, and now stepped into a question mark about what the future plans ought to be. And it is through this weekend that you will commit and move forward with whatever you think those plans are. Now, this is why this moment is so magical. And I've talked about it last week in the show as well. Not only are we being engineered energetically to step into our hearts, but we're also facing fears of our heart with Black Moon Lilith, where we're drawing our heartstrings from certain investments that don't serve us with Venus retrograde. We are cutting our karmic cords with Saturn in Pisces. We are seeing our new destiny with Neptune in Pisces. We are transforming the definition of what power is with Pluto in Capricorn. And we are getting meticulous on the details and the task list with all the energy in Virgo. So this moment is important because this is the moment where we, the people, decide, first of all, is it going to be love or fear? Am I going to step into my heart and live a life of love and project love into the world? Or am I going to cower, withdraw, and let the fear of what could be fill my heart? In that way, in that moment, the first step of being a human re-evolution expert or a human re-evolutionary or a forefather or foremother of the new age, our first challenge is way before we ever get to the polls to vote. It's way before we ever have to go to a picket line. It's way before we ever have to speak up or write our congressman. It is right now, this week in particular, as to whether you're going to choose a love path or you're going to cower to the fear path and let the fear control you. And this is the only time I've seen as an astrologer where we had this. I've never in my entire life seen the sun moving through Leo and Venus retrograding through Leo at the same time. It's never happened in our lifetime. The last time Venus exclusively was in Leo was 1812, when Great Britain, ironically, actually came back and attacked America. Kind of interesting, isn't it? The parallels and the hearts of men and women. So this is the week we have been since July 22nd, the evening of July 22nd, when the sun went into Leo and Venus retrograde that same evening. we have been clearing out our hearts, basically. And this week comes down to the magic finish line of that heartfelt intention, because it's this week that we're going to make a commitment towards following our heart and a devotion to what our heart really wants. This is also the week where Mercury will retrograde and we begin to reformat our reality. I'll talk a bit on that. So let's look at the week as a whole, shall we? So nice to see everyone. Thank you for the comments. Yes, we are, Sydney. We are the forefathers and foremothers of the new age. I do believe we are. And I believe the people watching are as well, because we care, because we care. So this week, the sun moves from step 26 tomorrow on Saturday, Leo, all the way to 2 degrees Virgo. The sun goes into Virgo on Wednesday. So this week is divided up into a 2-part week, in the sense that you have this hurry up and go kind of energy of launching your Leo dreams. And what that means in the big picture of things is that your heart it's time to devote to your heart. And at the same time, the sun then goes into Virgo, where we go deep from this very heartfelt, joyful, hopefully ambitious and optimistic place. The sun moves into Virgo on Wednesday, on hump day. How many times, for those who've been watching me, how many times does something weird happen on Wednesday, on hump day? Well, the sun plunges into Virgo and we suddenly go from this dreamer sort of energy down to the reality of what we are, okay? And I'll be speaking to this, but I'll just say it now, actually. Like, what we are right now is not what we will be. So one of the major wake-up calls of this week is that you start the week off with these high hopes of everything you want. And then when the sun plunges into Virgo, suddenly the reality of life hits us. So the first red flag I will say is that you're going to have reality sort of slap you upside the head this week on Wednesday moving forward. And I believe it's going to be a huge reality check, but the point of it is to recognize how we must change in order to bring in that love that we want, to bring in that calling that we want. So it's a good reality check, but it will be us sort of taking a heck of a pill, I think. And I think we've been sort of a little drunk in all this Leo energy. And so when the sun gets into Virgo, things will sober up pretty quickly. And that's why I say, where must I be forgiving? Let's talk about that. So as the sun is moving forward in Leo and in Virgo, we have Venus moving backwards from 16 degrees Leo to 14 degrees Leo, 16 to 14. Venus is starting to slow down a little bit now. She's not as fast as she was earlier in the retrograde. This means that this week our heart is withdrawing from old karmic cords we had when it comes to love, old karmic cords when it comes to love. And we're going to come to a new idea on what love is. Now, I personally believe the Venus retrograde is what's causing the really weird energy right now and the weird feelings. And I also believe that the Venus retrograde is what's causing a lot of the electrical problems that we're having as well. That has been happening. Some people having tech issues, almost like a Mercury retrograde, but not. Now, Venus retrograde, I've talked about it a few times, but I want to bring it out a little bit more today. The thing about Venus retrograde is it's our heart moving backwards. So Venus is the prism to the heart. It is the magnifying glass. It even looks like a magnifying glass, the symbol of it. It's the magnifying glass that opens up the heart. It's the part of us that either opens or closes our heart. This is why it's associated with relationships, because any relationship worth having is a heartfelt connection, one cord to another. With Venus moving backwards, okay, it means that our heart is looking into the past, looking into what has been. And a lot of, I think, the weird energy that's been coming up, and I've had this affirmed by an angelic reading recently as of today, shout out to Devin, is that that a lot of these weird feelings that are coming up is likely past life cords of the heart. Now, you may not believe in past lives. I personally do. I've had enough evidence in my life to know that they are true, but it's not something I just project onto someone. You have to have the evidence in your life that's undeniable for you. You can't just take my word for it. But I do believe that the Venus retrograde in this last week and this week is very much about cutting old heartfelt strings to other people. So you might have had or heard from an ex-boyfriend or girlfriend since the Venus retrograde. You might have had dreams of a past life. You might have had some sort of realization about you in a past life. These old strings are coming up now, I believe, to be cut. And because of that, there's a lot of realization and reliving of some of the pain our heart has gone through. And I have certainly felt that in the last week. I've had moments of sadness, despair, moments of anger where I'm suddenly very angry for some reason. And I can't quite figure out why, like where it's coming from, but I'm feeling this tremendous anger. And I believe that that's what's happening is these old heartfelt strings are coming up. And in some cases, we have buried them. We have pretended they're not there. We pretended we don't still have feelings for so-and-so, or that we're over that relationship. It wasn't a big deal. But I think what's happened is we've come to realize, oh, there still is something there. So this week, in particular, I believe this is the cord cutting week, ultimately, when it comes to past lives, past lovers, past relationships. I even know people have been mourning the loss of a pet this week, that they were suddenly looking at pictures of their old kitty cat or their old puppy, and they were missing that relationship and missing that connection. And this is why I think the key question of the week is, where must I be forgiving? Where must I be forgiving? It is time now, if you want to move on and process forward, we have no choice but to cut the cords and forgive. And really, forgiveness, we focus on forgiveness with outer people, like someone who has wronged me. But I think we often forget about forgiving ourselves for allowing ourselves to be strung along for so long, forgiving ourselves for not listening to those signs that they were cheating or that they weren't being honest, forgive ourselves for sticking around one more time, even though we knew it was abusive and we knew it was toxic. I think a lot of times our anger is really with ourselves, and we project it onto the people that were involved. But now with the Earth moving into Pisces, and that's where I get this key question from, is the Earth in Pisces. It's now time to manifest a new faith. And that means that we're going to have to let go and forgive the things, the people, the situations that have hurt us in the past. And, you know, I can tell you right now, I'm a net 9. I may not appear it, but I'm all ego. Okay. Like, I'm a spiritual ego. I call it a winged ego. I try to be an ego that's based on love and based on compassion and spirituality, but I'm a doer. And I have found, I want to just share that, like, when someone has wronged me, my ego wants to show them or prove to them. I'm not a revenge guy. I don't want to ever do revenge, but I always do want to show one up or have the last word. And so I found that my ego a lot of times hangs on to a situation that's not good for me, because I'm wanting to show them or teach them. And the truth of the matter is that's not my job, unfortunately. And the problem is, when you love someone, it's really painful to see that they aren't growing. It's painful to see them stuck in a certain situation. And so a lot of times our ego holds on to toxic situations because of the fact that we really want to see them grow, and we're heartbroken that they're not growing, past their limitations, and we've been maybe by their side for a long time. Well, I can tell you, certainly there are relationships that are meant to continue. Only you know and feel what the case is. But the planets are definitely saying that it is now time, and sanctioned by the universe, to go ahead and cut those cords that don't serve you. And I believe we're at this fork in the road where, this is free will. You can go one more time around the track holding on to all that stuff, or you can cut yourself free and ascend now to a higher age, to the new age. And that does mean that, this old saying that one of my mentors says, our friends and family, we meet our friends and family on the other side. The line to heaven is single file. So we don't get to bring those people with us. We have to do the walk ourselves, and we'll meet them on the other side. And that might be what we have to realize. By forgiving, you let it go. By forgiving yourself, you help the ego let go of where the ego is still clinging on in certain situations. So with Venus retrograde, from 16 to 14, This is us addressing the karma we have around love, around creativity, and around children as well. Basically, the greatest expressions of the heart: love, creativity, and children. These are the three areas that we have to move forward. In some cases, by the way, this involves family members too. Not that we would abandon a family member, but that maybe we've refocused our energy and our investment, because if they're choosing not to grow, then they're just going to have to watch us by example, unfortunately. Now, the other aspect that's happening in Leo is Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith moves from step 24 to step 25, Leo. And this had to do with facing the consequences, facing the fear around the consequences of our heart's intentions to go forward. All right. So I spoke to this last week. I think this week there's a lot of that processing, a fear that if I no longer invest in this relationship, my fear is that they will lose hope, or my fear is that they'll fall back into their addiction, or my fear is that if I don't, keep feeding this relationship, it's going to somehow cause a negativity on me. But if your heart realizes that this isn't serving you, we have to face those fears, which means that knowing we've done everything we can and giving it to God. That's the other aspect, where it's now up to the angels. It's now up to God to handle. With Black Moon Lilith going to 25 degrees Leo this week, it means that we're now going to face fears around fate. All right. And what's interesting is this happens. When does she go to 25? Let me just see when she goes to 25. Oh, she goes to 25 on Sunday. Okay. So really on Sunday. So what happens is on Saturday, you commit to what your heart really wants. And then on Sunday, you face the fear of certain fate. So for instance, if you decide you're no longer going to keep waiting around for that ex to call you, or you're going to stop waiting around for that person to realize you're in love with them, or you're going to stop waiting around for a family member to get it, then suddenly you face the fear of fate. Like, oh, am I fated to always be alone? Am I fated to never have the family I deserve? Am I fated to go without my personal dreams happening? So we sort of, starting Sunday this week, one of the themes of this week, and I think when the sun goes into Virgo, it gets a bit more intense because reality hits us. Certain details and certain facts are undeniable once sun goes in Virgo. It's like right in your face. Whereas before you could sort of ignore it and pretend it wasn't there. You can't pretend with Virgo, it's right there. I think we face our worst fears about outcomes. That's probably the best way to put it. So facing any fears you have about a bad outcome, turning out like your dad, turning out like your mother, ending up alone like so-and-so, that sort of thing. So this is where the magic becomes surreal this week. It becomes really surreal because we make the choice. We make a devotion of our heart with step 26 on Saturday. We take the first step on Sunday to cut that cord or move forward with that cord. So we commit and we cut. And I think that leaves us feeling very weird, a little isolated, sort of floating without really a centered groundedness to us. And it's this in between that we're facing, basically, of these two stages of the heart, once being attached, now being attached to nothing. And I think that's going to be the most difficult thing. Until Venus hits Virgo, we're probably going to be wondering if our heart will end up happy or not, because we have to finish this full Venus retrograde and back and forth. So the week really has, like I said, there's two parts of the week. From Saturday until Wednesday, we're launching our heart's desires, and we are moving forward with what our heart really wants, and we're making the hard decisions for ourselves. And sometimes loving yourself, to quote one of my staff members, sometimes loving yourself is making those hard decisions for yourself. And I completely understand that. With the Earth in Aquarius, it means that as you commit to what your heart wants, you then either belong or don't belong with some part of society. You either belong or don't belong as a part of a team. You either belong or don't belong in a community. You either belong or don't belong. So there's going to be this, we may be disenfranchised from certain associations that we once held by making these hard choices for our heart. And I will just go ahead and point out the fact that, in fact, let's just talk about it now. The North Node in Aries. So the North Node starts at 27 Aries on Saturday, which means that we are moving towards the character that we want to be. and the changes necessary and the actions necessary to become the character we want to be. But then as soon as we make that choice of where our heart's going to be devoted to on Saturday, then the North Node moves back to 26, which means we now are starting to commit to becoming a new character. So now Chiron stays at 19 Aries the whole time. I'll just say this right now. And that means that we're, this fear of screwing up, this fear of dropping the ball, this fear of making the wrong turn in Albuquerque, this fear is something we are processing. Everyone is afraid of making the same mistakes twice right now, and that's to be expected. So in essence, this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the next 2 days, this is probably where you take your power, where you step into your new power, into your new light. And it doesn't mean the world has to know about it right away. Now, let's talk about the emotions of the week, since I've laid out the big picture of the week. The moon is in Libra on Saturday and Sunday. So in essence, relationships are a big part of this. I have a feeling that a lot of the weird feelings in our heart is that relationships are changing. We are coming full circle on certain karmic relationships. Certain karmic relationships are coming to a close. So someone that may have been with you for a long time, you're realizing that it's the end of that era. It's the end of that period, so to speak. So I think that's a lot of the heaviness. And with the moon in Libra, it's very much processing relationships, long-term commitments, what is fair, what is balanced, where do I draw the line, what's the best way in order to communicate my needs to this person. And really, we're not just defining our relationships to other people, but we're defining our relationships to our future, relationships to our job. And of course, the moon crosses over, is about to right now cross over the South Node in Libra, which means that we're emotionally processing the fact that relationships are going to end or change. So we're very relationship based Saturday, Sunday, and early Monday, and we're feeling back and forth with our relationships and how they're going to be changed. Then come later on Monday, the moon moves into Scorpio, and it stays in Scorpio on late Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And the moon in Scorpio on late Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, this is where we cut the emotional cord. So we do emotional cord cutting, basically based on the fact that things are going to change. Now, this emotional cord cutting may be that you're leaving your town, you're going to move to another state. Maybe it's that you're leaving a job, you're leaving a company. Maybe it's that you're leaving a vocation that you no longer want to do anymore and you want to try a new vocation. So, it doesn't have to necessarily be drama per se, but I do think because of the Venus retrograde, we have a lot of old past life history coming up. And so let's say, for instance, you've had many lifetimes where you stayed by the alcoholic, or you stayed by the person who was a narcissist, or you stayed by, the person who didn't want to find their strength. And let's say that you always stayed by that person, you always sacrificed your happiness. And let's say now you've reincarnated another life where indeed here you are enabling, or here you are, trying to save someone and realizing you can't. So although it's like a joyous moment to say, okay, I'm going to come out of this, I think the Venus retrograde still brings up the whole history of every time that you have sorrowed over the same scenario. Even though you're making a great choice for yourself and you're moving on up, you still may feel all the feels that are incorporated around these times that you've lived. So I think that as far as what's most difficult, as far as the days are concerned, the most difficult day of the week will be Tuesday, and really Tuesday and Wednesday are probably the most difficult days of the week, because we're doing emotional cord cutting and we're realizing we have to no longer go there, no longer let our emotions go there. Then towards the end of the week on Thursday and Friday, the moon moves into Sagittarius. And so we start to feel that our story is changing. We're starting to feel on Thursday and Friday that, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto, that we're no longer the same person we were, that the characters in our life are going to be changing. The events are going to be changing. And we start to see that ray of hope. In fact, I'll skip ahead and say it's not till Saturday when we're at 3 degrees Virgo that you'll start to feel that ray of sunshine come in, that ray of hope. I would say this whole week is the transition and the energetic transition of making the right choice for your heart, facing the consequences, and cutting the necessary cords for that to happen. All right. And facing fears as a result. So it's a bit of a heavy week. It's certainly going to be surreal. And just keep in mind that a lot of the feelings coming up, I think, are past life, that you're not just processing this, you are processing all the times that you've been caught in these situations that did not serve the heart. And that's the theme, the situations that did not serve the heart. Now, that brings us to now the Virgo energy. So we launch this weekend. This weekend is when you commit. It'll probably be very private. It probably won't become very real until Monday, just so you know. So it's not till Monday that the decisions become real and the actions become real, and we return to our, quote, normal life. And it's interesting because on Monday, the sun quincunxes Pluto, which means on Monday is when there's the real transfer of power. So if you're wondering when to pull the lever or bring it up or let someone know if that's necessary, looks like Monday is the day to be honest and to be forthright. So yes, Suki just said, so long and thanks for all the fish. So well said, Suki, so well said. Hitchhiker's Guide quote there. That's what the dolphins transmitted to Earth when they left Earth for good. Now that brings us then to Wednesday, which is the sun entering Virgo. We have a lot of weird Virgo energy going on. Mercury's at step 21 Virgo, which means our mind is thinking about, what do I believe about the future? So, and Mercury will retrograde on Wednesday. So the day the sun goes into Virgo, the day the sun enters Virgo. And Virgo, if you don't know, is the state of awareness of reality. So Virgo is our five senses. It is 3D reality. It is the material world. It is the flesh of your body. It is the health of your body. It is the mundane of daily life. It is all the cracks in the pavement. It is, everything that is material. The truth is that if we were cave people still, we would only probably know Virgo and our thoughts, Gemini. We wouldn't be in touch with much more than that. Reality, it was all reality back when we began. So what happens is the sun goes into Virgo on Wednesday and Mercury retrogrades, and this is the surreal. This is the surreal, which means that suddenly it gets very real, whatever your choices are. So reality doesn't catch up to you until really Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, those 3 days. That's when reality really catches up and you realize, I am not the same person I was, but I don't know who I am. And Mercury at 21 says, and I don't know what to think about what I believe about the future. Now, Mercury actually stays at step 21 for a total of 13 days. It's at 21 this entire week, which basically means you're not going to know what to think or believe about the future. You don't know. We don't know what the future will hold. And we don't know what the details are. We don't know if we'll end up employed or unemployed, if we'll end up having food or not food, if we'll end up being a part of the association or not part of the association. We don't know. And, although you may be withdrawing from toxic heart situations, the hows to do it, once Mercury retrogrades, you don't want to file for divorce when Mercury retrogrades. You don't, if you have to get out of a situation immediately, then Monday is the only day this week to do it. Monday. Otherwise, it's just going to blow up in your face the way you don't want to. Once Mercury's retrograde, it's not the time to file for divorce. Mercury retrograde until September 15th, and Mercury goes from 21 degrees to 8 degrees. So we're going to end up rethinking what we believe about the future and deciding what we have become, that we've become someone else. So you could say that the Mercury retrograde is the reorientation, or I call it the reformatting of reality. So it's sort of like if you've ever done 3D graphics or something, it's like you sort of create all the parameters in the software and then it formats and actually renders out the scene and renders out the image. Maybe you're using AI graphics now. They have AI graphics where you type in what is the graphic supposed to look like and you hit go and it renders out the scene. That's really what's happening is we're going to be giving new instructions for what we want reality to be for the entire Mercury retrograde from 21 to 8. And we're coming up with what we want it to be. I don't think it renders, frankly, until Venus. I mean, it renders when the sun is in Virgo to some degree, but doesn't really come into full comfort zone until Venus hits Virgo. That's when we really start to accept this new reality, which is sometime ahead. Now, Mars is in Virgo from 24 to 28 degrees. Actually go here, 24 to 28 degrees, which means our ego is sort of playing out scenarios of how we expect the future to launch. So although we are not know what to think about what reality will look like, we don't know what we become. We haven't defined what we become on the inside. We don't quite know, who we are anymore. Everything feels foreign and weird. We're still going to be making plans with Mars in those high degrees from 24 to 28. We're going to be making plans where we can for where we expect the future to go forward. It's not like the whole life can just stop because we have these retrogrades. But I do think that with Mercury retrograde, you're going to not really know what to think about anything. And I think we have to give ourselves permission for that to be the case. Now, as I mentioned, when the sun is in Virgo starting Wednesday and the earth is in Pisces, we then begin to manifest Earth, a new faith, and I believe we begin to manifest a new spiritual story. In fact, we have a full moon that will be next week. The full moon is on Wednesday, August 30th. So a week from this Wednesday, a week from when the sun goes into Virgo, we have the full moon. And that full moon is, I believe, the separation of the two spiritual timelines. So as I mentioned, the whole time of the sun in Leo has been our heart letting go of certain heartstrings, our heart moving toward new heartstrings. And we've been moving since I've been on the air since 2020, basically, between the story we were born to and the story we were born to live. From what I can tell astrologically, that full moon next Wednesday on August 30th at 7 degrees Pisces, that's a Grandmaster degree of Pisces. I believe that is the beginning of the new spiritual timeline. And with the sun at 7 degrees Virgo, the beginning of the new you, or what I call the new meality. And that's what I call these first degrees of Virgo, is meality. What's it like to be me? So when the sun moves into Virgo on Wednesday, you're feeling the realities of your protection, step 0, Wednesday. You're feeling the realities of your heart. And I think that'll be a difficult day on Thursday because we're feeling our heart. We're going to feel the loss of things that we know are ending. We're going to feel the times of when we've been hurt before in the past. And we're going to feel the reality of it, what's really real. And then on Friday, we're going to feel the reality of our emotions. Reality meaning you cannot deny it. And so you could say it's really going to be looking in the mirror at that time. And again, this is where you want to be forgiving. And the magic words for forgiving, in my opinion, well, of course it's my opinion, is it's okay. So it's okay that I feel this way. It's okay that my heart is feeling broken. It's okay that my heart has to go through this. I'm not going to, make it more than it is. It's okay. I forgive. And forgiving, in my opinion, is the same as compassion, where you bring love to the suffering and pain and you let go of the strings. You no longer hold on to the strings of that situation. So again, I think it's a surreal week because I think once we make our choices over the weekend, we're facing the consequence of those choices. And we probably don't really see the rainbow of how this is all good for us until next Saturday. And that's when the moon crosses the galactic center and we have a new vision and we have a new hope for the future. Now, while this is happening, we have some interesting stuff going on with Jupiter, Uranus and Jupiter in Taurus. Jupiter is at step 15 all week in Taurus. This is important because this is the stationary degree of Jupiter. So this is the degree that Jupiter will retrograde at, is at step 15. It does not make it to 16 in this first run. It will retrograde all the way back to step 5, where it will station direct on New Year's Eve. Jupiter 15 means that we're now starting to believe in accepting the manifestation path or the growth path of our daily life. So you're being encouraged to accept, okay, in my daily life, this is where I'm going to have to grow. This is where my heart is going to invest and where my heart's not going to invest. This is what I'm going to manifest in my daily life. And we're sort of accepting what that's going to be. It's sort of like, we've all been in school, and every time you go to school, you get that list of classes that you're going to take, over the next course of the year. Well, Jupiter direct is like all the classes you're going to take. And it's introducing classes as it's direct, like you're going to learn this and you're going to learn that. Right now, all of our classes are about changing the values of ourself and changing what we put time and energy into and the values of our daily life. Okay. So Jupiter in Taurus has been helping us to learn and how to find new ways of manifesting, and what we're going to have to learn in order to do. I'm going to have to learn how to do pottery. I'm going to have to learn how to finance. I'm going to have to learn about retirement accounts. We're going to have to learn certain things. This week, you start to accept what those classes are, basically. So as we're moving through this transition of my heart wants this, and here's the reality of what I'm in, we're accepting, okay, I'm going to have to manifest a new job. I'm going to have to manifest someone to replace this person in my life. I'm going to have to manifest, a new path of how to pull this off, or manifest new financing. And we come to terms this week with Jupiter at step 15, because what happens is on Tuesday, Venus will square Jupiter. Venus retrograde at 15 Leo will square Jupiter at 15 Taurus. And so it's pretty much on Tuesday that you realize you have to accept that if your heart's going to have a different path in daily life, or you're going to have different connections or different heart chords in daily life, or if you're going to pursue a certain love story in daily life or not pursue one, then that means you're going to have to accept what you have to manifest in daily life as a consequence or as a tie-in. And so we have to reconcile between what we're going to manifest and what our heart is going for. In some cases, your heart is going for too much than you can pull off right now. And so you may have to realize you have to maybe put some of those wish lists on, for the second go round, or for when Venus is direct. In some cases, you're going to realize that you have to learn how to up the manufacturing, you have to up the manifestation, you have to up the ability to make more money. So the ideas are great, but the how-tos are not in place yet. So, what's interesting is, despite the fact that we're in this like rainbow moment where we want to go, towards this new personal dream, and we're also facing the reality of who we become, and oh my God, what have I become? I don't know what to think about my future. I don't know what to think about myself. There's still very rational awareness of like, okay, what can I really pull off creatively, and what can I really pay for right now, and what will happen later. So we sort of accept, there's this acceptance of what is. And so there's a real, smack of reality, I think, that ends up happening. Uranus is at step 23, Taurus. So we are innovating the vision of the future this whole time. And so this whole time you're thinking, okay, yeah, in the future, we're going to have to employ more people, or I'm going to have to get AI, or I'm going to have to. So there's a lot of planning still with Uranus in Taurus, and we're innovating that plan. Uranus goes retrograde on August 28th. So keep innovating your idea, keep finding new solutions, keep finding new software, keep finding new innovative ways to go about it until next Tuesday. And then you'll have enough in your bucket of to-dos, basically. So even though it's a very weird week, I'd say it's a kind of productive week in getting real about daily life and getting real about what our heart can invest in, and and how we have to pay for it, or where we're going to pay for it. Now, when it comes to karma, we have energy in Pisces. We have Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces, and both Saturn and Neptune change a step number this week. The reason why this is important is because Saturn is sort of the needle on the record as far as where we're taking responsibility for our karma. Neptune is sort of the speaker broadcasting the new vision, the new destiny, the new spiritual timeline. So when both of those change, both Saturn and Neptune change a degree or change a step number, which is basically like tuning it into a different frequency in human consciousness. That's what the steps are, different frequencies in consciousness. We change our spiritual frequency both at the top and at the bottom this week. Saturn doesn't change until Friday, but it changes on Friday. Now, Saturn's at 4 degrees Pisces, which means that we are ending the karma of being a certain way to ourselves, and we are finding the way we need to be to ourselves. And this is where we must be forgiving. All right. So if you've once been judgmental, if you've once been a tyrant to yourself, if you've once neglected yourself, if you've once abandoned yourself emotionally, whatever that may be the case, now you're realizing I need to be my best friend. I need to be my own hero. I need to be my own inspiration. So karmically, we're realizing that if we're going to grow, we have to be someone else to ourselves on the inside. And that change of who we are on the inside is a spiritual change. In other words, we were this essence for years and years and years and years. You know, the difference between spiritual and material is spiritual is the root behind the material. So for instance, if you have a spiritual issue of low self-esteem, that can manifest into poor wages. That can manifest into people treating you poorly. That can manifest into losing money to certain things like debt, or losing money to gambling, or losing money to things breaking down. So a spiritual issue like low self-esteem can manifest in many different physical varieties. When you change the spiritual predisposition of the spirit, you then change the outcome of everything that's going to manifest. So we're actually making a major change this week of our spiritual deposition or position with ourself is what's happening. And this is the theme of the whole week. So as you are committing to heartfelt things, as you're cutting heartfelt strings, as you're realizing reality, as you're renegotiating the cost versus the creative idea with Venus squaring Jupiter, you are in essence, underneath all of it, cutting a spiritual karmic cord with yourself and taking a new approach with yourself that's going to end up blossoming into new realities. So we turn a spiritual corner, and that spiritual corner turns by next Friday. So by the next live show, we will turn that spiritual corner. But realize and ask yourself, what is the new position I must take with myself spiritually on the inside with everything in my life? That's another way of looking at spirit. It's something that applies to everything in your life because it's applying to the essence of your relationship with yourself. Now, Neptune, which is really funny, Neptune's at 27, retrograde Pisces. So this has been unveiling the spiritual mission, that we have a mission. Neptune retrograde is saying, my mission is. Now, this is one of the reasons why, by the way, that I'm confident that despite the fact that the world is so much in the toilet, that we have a lot of hope, because Neptune is calling people to a mission. People are being called to the mission and to where they feel like they have a purpose and they have a mission. Neptune moves from step 27 to 26 on Tuesday. So that means that after you commit your heart to a certain direction, and you go, this is my commitment, I'm devoted to this direction, then suddenly Neptune is saying, okay, it's not about the mission, it's about committing to the mission. So we're called to commit to this mission, basically, starting on Tuesday. We feel this pull to now be committed to a new future that we want. Again, it's a spiritual mission. We don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know who's going to be involved, but we know it's going to happen. And that's ultimately the mission that is at hand. All right. So the only other thing I'll point out that happens this week is that we have a lot of change of power. We have a lot of change of power. On Monday, when you devote to manifesting your new heartfelt direction, the direction your heart wants to go, at that moment, the sun will quincunx Pluto retrograde at 28 degrees Capricorn. So that proclamation that you're going to manifest this new heartfelt direction, that proclamation turns out to be a transformation of power, that it ends up changing changing where you make decisions, changing who's involved, changing who your leaders are, changing who you follow, which is the same thing, changing how you lead. If you're a leader, you might change your leadership. So the fact that the sun quincunxes Pluto tells me, oh, this decision your heart is making will result in a change of power. So that happens on Monday, on August 21st. Your decisions that you decide to manifest means that power is going to change. My relationship to power is going to change, in essence. At the same time, in this week, on Thursday, Mars in Virgo will then directly trine Pluto in Capricorn at 28 degrees also. And Mars, Pluto, and Uranus are involved in a grand trine in Earth right now. And I spoke to this last week, and I spoke to it in each of the 12 soul horoscopes I gave during tea time. I talked about what that triangulation is for each of the 12 signs. So if you want to get that, roll back to the horoscopes of last week's show. You can use the time code in the description and click on, go right back to your sign and look at it one more time. But what it does mean is that on Monday, you recognize, oh my goodness, there's going to be a change of power. We're going to have a change of power. And basically on Friday, we go for that change, or on Thursday, excuse me, we go for that change of power. So come Thursday, it's time to make a change, to actually cut the strings, sign the contract. So again, I think you can officially, let's put it this way, the most ideal thing to do would be to announce on Monday to the parties involved that, hey, things are going to change, but probably not, actually give notice or cut cords or move forward until Thursday. The problem is, though, that you don't want to sign any contracts during Mercury retrograde or end any contracts during Mercury retrograde either, if you can. You can tell your intent to do it, I think, on Monday, or speak your intent to do it, I would say, on Thursday. But I wouldn't recommend actually doing it because the Mercury retrograde is going to reveal so many details and so many aspects that are necessary for you to pull it off correctly. You may feel this push to rush, but the universe is saying, don't rush. In fact, it's not till September 15th that we have thought through all the necessary details of what the change is going to be. So if anything, if you're going to, let's say, end something, tell them that it'll end like November 16th, the day after the Mercury goes direct. I wouldn't actually end it during the retrograde if you can, because I think so much is going to be revealed that you really want to have all the information at your fingertips. And because we're trailblazing a new direction in life and we're trailblazing a new heartfelt timeline and a new karmic timeline, I don't think you want to start anything new or make any big changes during the Venus or Mercury retrograde, is what I believe. So in essence, that's the week ahead, folks. I'm a little bit more serious tonight because I'm feeling the seriousness of it. I'm also feeling the seriousness of the Venus retrograde. With that said, I think it's time to go steep yourself some tea and let's have our weekly tea time. All right. And for those who are new, welcome to the show. We appreciate it. If you haven't already, please like this. And if you haven't already subscribed to us on YouTube, please subscribe to us or follow us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. We appreciate it. And on LinkedIn as well. We also are going to do right now in this next segment, we have our 12 horoscopes for all 12 signs. So this is a time to find out about yourself and your loved ones. And don't forget to stick around after this because we have our new AstroMingle segment. I'm happy to announce we're going to have Meghan Jones here, holistic integrative wellness coach. We're going to talk about nutrition and modern day foods. But before we dive into the 12 horoscopes for everyone, let us look at the planets, shall we? We're going to take a look here and do a screen share. This is my poster for today, Namaste Today Live. And I want to show just a couple of the charts for this week that I was speaking to so you can sort of see it and what I was talking about it. One is come Tuesday, I talked about Venus squaring Jupiter. This apex is actually early morning on Tuesday. And quickly, you can see Venus here retrograde at 15 degrees. Now, this is an important major turn because 15 is a grandmaster step of Venus. So the fact that Venus is actually squaring Jupiter right here, they're squaring with this red line, squaring at 15 means that this is going to be a defining moment for Venus. This is a defining moment in the sense that what you realize on Tuesday, and this is about love in your daily life or creativity in your daily life. The 10 degrees are our daily life. So we're realizing that our heart has to open up and accept something about our daily life. And this might be accepting that someone is gone or something is gone or something is going to change. But I think Tuesday we're sort of having to swallow a pill, if you will. And this also means that the way we manufacture or go about it also changes. As I mentioned, the North Node has moved to step 26. That actually happened on Sunday, a couple of days prior. And I just want to point out this yod here. I don't know if you can see, but these dotted green lines, we have a very powerful yod that runs from Pluto to the sun. That's basically what we call a quincunx, and then the sun to Neptune. And this all happens, it happens on Tuesday. That's when the yod hits its apex because it's at 28 degrees, but I'm showing it to you now. This yod is basically saying that, in order to change world power or change your place in world power or to manifest world power, 28 degrees, and in order to get on your destiny, and what's interesting is Neptune, here at step 29, in order to get on your destiny for where you belong and getting on your spiritual mission, step 27, and remember, Neptune will actually move to step 26 later in the day of this day. So literally, this moment is the universe is saying to get on your destiny of your mission, to change your power and manifest the power you want, you've got to create in your heart what you want to manifest. You have to create your golden egg. You have to create your golden age. You have to go after your personal dreams. This is the time to go for it and, to chase after gold in California, or to go for the big dream, basically. And this note has been present many times as planets have moved up here. Black Moon Lilith is also stepping into this yod, but it's an important one to notice. Also notice that as we are being tested on Tuesday of our personal dreams, it's sort of a test. We're committing, our ego is committing, Mars at 26, we're committing now to this future. And this Mars commitment is quincunxing actually the North Node at 26 Aries. So it means that it's going to be a change of our character. Notice the moon in Scorpio, we're facing the reality of cutting certain cords with ourselves and with others. Then Mercury stations retrograde at 3:59 p.m. on Wednesday Eastern time. This Mercury retrograde is at 21 degrees. What's interesting is, I love that Mercury retrograde is when the sun is at 0 degrees, because what that basically says is we're going to have to figure out everything between 0 and 21 degrees here, which is how the hell am I going to do it? So for those of you who don't know how you're going to do it, the universe knows that you don't know how you're going to do it. And you're going to find out with this Mercury retrograde. So go ahead and plan to do, but don't worry about the fact that you don't know. And then on Thursday, August 24th, this is when we have Mars trine Pluto, Mars direct in Capricorn, in Virgo, trining Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. This is ultimately when I think we have an official change of power. By going for it as far as certain lifestyle changes, and that's what it is, it's lifestyle changes, you're going to find that your power structure changes. And this, of course, is tied into the Uranus at 23 degrees, which means an innovation of how we're going to manufacture, how we're going to go about it. I spoke to this last week, like I said. So now, although we're not sure what to believe about the future, Mercury at 21 retrograde says, I don't know what to believe about the future. I still have many tasks that need to be done. So it's not like we stop everything and stop the press, much like Hollywood is stopped right now with the different, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? They are on strike. I think Mercury retrograde is already affecting me. It's not like we stop production because we're on strike. We go ahead and produce the things that we want to produce and move forward the things that we can move forward with, even though we have no idea how things are going to turn out or what things actually mean. All right. So that's the planetary fun of the week. Now let's move on to our 12 horoscopes. So for each of the 12 signs today, and I want to say thank you, by the way. Thank you to those of you who provide the time code every week of our astrology, so it's easy for our members. Our staff, we're pretty much busy to the max. We focus on a work-life balance because we work so hard at Serious Joy and our staff. So those little things really help. We appreciate it. This week for the 12 signs, I'm going to be talking about 4 areas of consciousness I think are important for you. One is I'm going to remind you of what you're devoting your golden egg. So where are you devoting yourself? Where is your heart being devoted when it comes to manifestation? And of course, that devotion happens on Saturdays when you devote, and you carry that out all the way till we get to Virgo on Wednesday. So you hold that devote note, the note of devote, basically until Wednesday. In fact, you'll still be devoted, of course, but I mean sort of like not allowing any other consciousness to get in the way, not allowing yourself to, second guess, to stay confident. So hold that devotion note for those full days from Saturday until Wednesday. And then after Wednesday, reality catches up with you. Of course, I'm devoted, but I'm not singing that note anymore. Then I'm going to tell you where Venus squares Jupiter is going to affect, where you must reconcile your creative love in your daily life with how you manifest and how you produce. So the reconciliation between the creative idea and the actual manifestation of that idea, and where you must go back and forth and sort of work it out, like detangling something like a knot. So if you have like a knot in a rope, like if a rope has knots in it, is all knotted up, that's really what a square forces us to do, is to realize how we want to go 2 different directions, and we have to sort of detangle between the two. Then I will talk about what the sun in Virgo means for you, what you're going to be focusing on with the sun in Virgo, and what that, where you're going to start to face your meality and where your meality is. And I will say this, by the way, wherever Virgo is in your chart, is where the sign faces their reality. That's where reality hits you the most. And everyone has reality hit them the most somewhere in their chart. So we'll be talking about where that reality hits you the most. And we'll also be talking about where you're changing who you are on the inside. And then lastly, I'm going to speak for all 12 signs on the Mercury retrograde scale. Basically, where you're going to end up rewriting and rethinking in Virgo from what to what in your life that you'll be changing and rethinking with Virgo and figuring out the statistics. So of course, remember, wherever Mercury retrograde is, give yourself the entire Mercury transit until it's out of shadow before you expect to have understanding there. All righty. And with that, we'll start with Aries. Aries are devoting basically to their personal dreams. So it's time to go for your personal dreams, Aries, whatever your heart really wants, whatever your personal dream happens to be, it's time to go for that personal dream now. That is also the love of your life. That's also the creative project you've ever wanted. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm saying that this week you commit to it happening. So this is, you deciding that you want to get married, you deciding that you want to plunge in and produce the film, deciding that you want to go ahead and go on that world tour you've always wanted to go on, whatever the dream happens to be, whatever the age happens to be. Where you have to reconcile this week is between what you create, what exactly it is that you're going to be creating with your heart, or what that love is really going to look like, and reconciling that with how you're going to pay for it. What's the productivity? What are the production steps involved? So you're getting into the nuts and bolts of the idea and what the idea is and how you're going to produce that idea, how you're going to manufacture it, how you're going to pay for it, how you're going to pay off your debt in order to get there. So it's a real practical reconciliation between the creative idea and the cost, basically. Now, the sun in Virgo for you is your health and your body image. So you're going to have reality hit you in the face when it comes to your health or your body. You might look in the mirror and go, oh God, what have I done this summer? Okay. So it's going to be a real wake up call, and you face your reality. Aries has faced their reality in their body. So a lot of things hit you in your body. That means a lot of spiritual problems manifest in your body. It's another way of looking at reality. And so you're going to start to see maybe issues with your health or your body image that needs attending. It's not time to actually make any changes. It's time to recognize that there's a need for. And the Mercury retrograde for you, Aries, is going to be figuring out, what do I believe about what my lifestyle should become? What do I believe my lifestyle should become? And what am I committed to all the way through your whole lifestyle and everything in daily life and daily work and everything like that, all the way to a commitment to your health, a commitment to your body. So rethinking all the details of life, all the way down to how you treat your own body. Taurus. Tauruses are committing to a new emotional security, new home, family, or estate. So this is your dreams of how your family will be, your dreams of how your house will be, where your house will be. It is very much the foundation. Now, if you own your own company, this may be where your company's offices are, because that's the home of your company. So your home office is also possible here, but basically committing to creating this fantastic castle that will house all of your creative ideas, your family, and what you want to manifest on the planet. So it's basically Taurus is committing to a nest. Now, the Venus square Jupiter says you're going to have to reconcile your emotional needs, what you need emotionally, with your daily behavior. So what do you need day to day to feel good? Do you need to wake up at a certain time? Do you need to go to bed at a certain time? Do you need to only do so much work? And how's that balance with how much you actually commit to, how much you actually do? So this is the workload that you put on yourself, or the activity list that you put on yourself, and then how that affects your emotional well-being, and whether or not you feel good or don't feel good, and how that ties into your ego wanting to get a bunch done. Sometimes the ego pushes you, throws you off your emotional balance, is what this is saying. The sun in Virgo for you, your reality is in the heart. So reality to a Taurus is their heart. That's where you feel your reality. Tauruses are very heartfelt. Remember, Taurus is step 1 plus step 0. Step 1 is the heart. Step 0 is protection. So what a Taurus is a protected heart, or what a Taurus is a Leo and a Scorpio having a baby. That's what a Taurus is, a Leo and a Scorpio. So that Leo, that 1 in the 10, that is what your reality is. So you're going to have things of the heart catch up to you. I think for Tauruses, this might be a bit difficult. because Tauruses tend to, put themselves into work and not pay attention to their heart being upset about things. And so you may realize your heart is upset, or you may realize you've abandoned your inner child in some part of your life. That could cause anger too, by the way. The Mercury retrograde is going to be that you are rethinking what you believe your personal dreams are. So Tauruses are the least clear on where their romantic love is going to go. They don't know exactly what their dreams are going to be. You're rethinking what those are going to be. Most of Leo was about getting the castle in order, although it's the fundament of personal dreams happening. But Tauruses are not quite sure where they're going to spend that money. Okay. Now, so it's, what do I believe about my future? What do I believe about the love of my life? What do I believe about having more babies or more kids? All the way back to where am I committed to loving myself? So I think this is going to be a very tender Virgo season for Tauruses. I think it's going to be a very tender one, because I think with the South Node in Libra, you're coming to terms with certain love affairs are over, and that's leaving room for where your love really belongs. Gemini are committing to big plans, intellectual property, strategies for how they want to go forward. So your heart is committing on Saturday to your official plans of what's going to happen and what's going to make you feel good and what you're going to want out of life. And so this is your heart being in love with certain ideas. I love the idea of this. I love the idea of that. You're falling in love with the ideas, which is the strongest thing for a Gemini to be aligned to. What you have to reconcile is your daily thinking and your faith. Your faith gets in the way of your thinking. Faith meaning you don't have faith, or you're full of fear, or you're remembering karma that you've had in your life. And your thinking can sometimes be going down to the dark side and not being on the light side. So you have to keep your thoughts and your faith both on the up and up. Okay. Thoughts and faith on the up and up. The sun in Virgo is really your emotional self. So your reality, a Gemini's reality, is how they feel. They can think a whole bunch of things, but what weighs you down in life, in the heaviness of life or the heaviness of reality, are your feelings. And so your feelings are going to catch up to you, Gemini. Geminis tend to escape in their thoughts. So I'm expecting a big wave of wake-up call in their emotional field, where you have a wake-up call and your feelings tell you something your mind has skipped over or your mind has denied. Now, the Mercury retrograde will, of course, affect Geminis the most. In a retrograde, Geminis flip twins. So you're either an introvert during direct, or you're an extrovert during direct. And then what happens is you flip. So the introvert becomes an extrovert, the extrovert becomes an introvert. If you're a talker, you become a listener. If you're a listener, you become a talker. Every Gemini leans one way or the other as a dominant versus a submissive part of their brain, and also intuitive versus logical. If you're normally a Gemini logic, you go to intuitive. If you're normally Gemini intuitive, you go to logic. So Gemini switch twins. We see the other twin of the Gemini during a Mercury retrograde. And the retrograde for you is literally what you believe about your security. So you don't know what to believe. You don't know if you're going to be secure moving forward. You're not quite sure. And so you're rethinking, what will make me feel secure? What will make me feel safe at home? All the way back to coming up and deciding you feel differently about yourself than you once had. So it's rethinking all of your feelings. And I think it's very real. This will be probably a bit of a mopey time for Gemini. So if you have a Gemini you're close to, folks, they need extra hugs once Mercury retrogrades. Learning how to drink during a show. Cancers. Cancers are making a commitment, a heartfelt devotion towards abundance, towards passive income, and towards automation. So basically how you plan to make lots and lots of money, and for money to make itself while you're sleeping, or for how you want to take one prototype and make it into a multiplicity of a lot of things, or how you want to make something make itself. So how to manufacture, how to automate the manufacturing of something. So you're committing to the creation and the population of something, making something making something populate, making something abundant. And again, this won't happen overnight, but it starts by you, your heart saying, okay, this is what I want to make into millions, or this is how I want to make millions. Okay. Now the square between Venus and Jupiter this week is that you're going to have to go back and forth between productivity, like how it is that you actually make a widget, or how you make money, or what your debt is, or your debt to income ratio, like getting really real and accepting how much you can manifest with your social connections. Like, so how much money versus my customers, where my business, what I aim for versus will they actually like the product, what my product's reputation is versus what the cost of the product is. So you're going back and forth between the making the product or making the money, and then how that affects your relationship in society, how that affects your customer base, how that affects your advertising campaign. So a good like example would be, I want to do this advertising campaign, how it's going to affect my bottom line. If I invest this much in this much money with the Venus and Leo, how many customers will that bring in with Jupiter and Taurus? So it's sort of like where money meets society. Reality for you, for Cancers, is in your mind, which is interesting because Geminis is in their emotions. So you and Gemini sort of are twins in that regard. Reality for a Cancer is how you think. And so Cancers are going to get, reality is going to hit them in their mind. And I think a lot of times Cancers, if they feel good, they don't pay attention. They don't look at the password. They don't look at the details. They don't really think about it until it becomes something they can't deny. So your attitude about yourself is going to become extremely undeniable. And Cancers might fall into a little bit of a slump. You could say, I wouldn't say depression, but just negative thinking is going to come forward and expose itself. And you're going to realize where your thinking gets in the way of your productivity. Your thinking gets in the way of your dreams coming true. Your thinking gets in the way about all sorts of things. The Mercury retrograde is what you believe about the future. So what do I believe is going to happen? You don't know what your attitude about the future is going to be. You're questioning the attitude to take. I think some Cancers are going to be, should I be positive? Should I be negative? You're going to go back and forth on whether or not you should go to the dark side of the moon where you're feeling all the mope, or the light side of the moon where you're feeling all the hope. So it's hope versus mope. And your mind is choosing those two different directions. And you're going to retrograde from what's my attitude about the future, what are my thoughts about everything, to at the very end of the Mercury retrograde, deciding to have a different way of thinking about yourself. So I suspect that Cancers are going to work out and work through toxic thinking about themselves and toxic thinking about their lives during this Mercury retrograde. So Cancers, I think it'll be a little bit of a heavier retrograde than normal for you. So you want to, nurture yourself and stay in your heart as much as you can. Leos, happy birthday, Leos. It's our final happy birthday for the Leos this week. Leos are devoting themselves to a new vision of their character. So their characters are becoming something else. This is your character. These are your master action plans. Like, I'm going to go learn how to surf, or I'm going to go learn how to own my own business, or I'm going to go learn how to do something. So it's an action plan you're devoting to, and also devoting to defenses as well. Like, I'm going to protect myself from this sort of thing. I'm going to protect myself from this sort of person. So it's a character you're devoting to, an action plan, or a defense mechanism, how you intend to protect the nest or protect the house. The square between Venus and Taurus, and Jupiter and Taurus, is going to be reconciling certain behavior with your career. You're going to realize that you're going to have to surrender some behavior, some things that you want to do, you can't do because it's maybe in the way of your career, or vice versa. Maybe you want to go out, on the ocean and sail, but you can't because you have certain career obligations, a certain career direction. So Leos are going back and forth between what their ego has signed themselves up for and what their ego has signed themselves up for. Yes, Colby, Leos always are devoted to character. It's true. It's their birthday, so it's perfect. So it's a reconciliation between behavior and ego commitments and career commitments, another way of looking at it. Reality for a Leo comes down to self-worth and debts. So Leos things get really real when you start bringing up money. Things get really real when you start bringing up debt. Things get really real when you start bringing up self-worth, whether or not you feel valuable or not feeling valuable. That is when reality hits Leos like a brick. If they have a self-esteem issue, it's just heavy. It pulls on them. So you're going to be working through issues of low self-worth and low self-esteem in these early degrees of Virgo, and realizing that to meet these new character objectives, you're going to have to raise your self-worth and recognize that you're worth it. So I think Leos have to go on a spiritual fundraising campaign to raise their spiritual worth, their self-worth, to meet the costs of this new character that they've signed up for. You want to be this character? You're going to have to raise your confidence and raise your self-worth to get there. The Mercury retrograde for Leos is literally, how do I manifest abundance or more money or perpetual money, self-fulfilling money? What's the word? Passive income. How do I manifest passive income? All the way to, well, what do I really think my worth is? What worth am I committed to? And that's something you create, by the way. Worth is not something you just get. Worth is something you create with love, time, and attention. So you're going to end that Mercury retrograde saying, I'm committed to giving me this much time and attention inside myself in order to raise my potential for manifesting abundance or manifesting some magnificent manifestation. Maybe you're trying to manifest something that's never been done before. So it's not even about abundance. It's about some sort of a miracle manifestation. Virgos. All right, Virgos, I always take a drink on your sign. And I know you would want me to too. So thank you. Virgos are on a new heartfelt path for God, the angels, and for destiny and fate. So you are committing to a new destiny, a new fate. You're committing to a new relationship with God. You're committing to a relationship to the angels, for instance, and opening up that gateway. I didn't talk to angels until after I was 42. So it took a long time for me to recognize that's who I was talking to. So it is something that opens up over time in our life. But Virgos are now making this commitment to be in love with their destiny, with their fate, with their relationship to God, to heal their spiritual path on earth and live a life that they have faith in. You could say you are committing to faith as well. That's another way of looking at it. Where you have to reconcile back and forth is between your spirituality and your faith and your actual knowledge. In some cases, you don't have the knowledge, so you have to up the faith, okay? In some cases, you don't have the faith, so you need to go out and learn something that will help you gain your faith. So it's about learning versus having faith, leaning on spirit versus leaning on experience. It's experience and knowledge and experience and education versus faith and surrender to what you feel could happen. And so it's the balance between the two and the reconciliation between spirituality and knowledge, or education is another way of looking at knowledge. Travel is part of that too. You might be considering whether or not you have faith in taking a certain trip. For instance, that'd be another square between the 12th and the 9th house, if you want to know the astrology of it. Now, because you are Virgo, happy birthday! Happy birthday, Virgo. I'm sorry to say that you have a Mercury retrograde in your birthday period this year, which is really a blessing, by the way. But it won't feel like that. Okay, like it's going to be a foggy birthday year for you. It's going to be a mysterious birthday year. It's going to be an uncertain birthday year. One of the most uncertain birthdays you've ever had, but it's because you're under major reconstruction, basically. The Venus retrograde is having you reconsider what faith really is. And the retrograde in Mercury is you don't know what to think. Now, the early degrees of Virgo is how you treat yourself. So this is where reality really sets in. The most real thing for Virgo is how they respond to themselves. That's what's most real. That's where reality is. So if you mope or feel bad or put yourself down, or you criticize yourself, or blame yourself, or choose to feel bad about yourself, those are all responses to yourself. Your response to yourself is what creates your reality. If you decide to be positive and look at the bright side and prop yourself up for your benefits and what's good, then your reality is suddenly good. So reality for Virgos is all based in how they treat themselves, which is funny because Virgos are a little obsessed with reality. And so a lot of Virgos are like, why didn't I get the car? Why didn't I get the lover? Why didn't I get the job? And you think that that's what affects your reality. But no, it all comes down to how you treat yourself. It's not about whether or not you got those things or made those things happen or got straight A's. It's really how you treated yourself when you learned you got 1B on your report card. That's what creates your reality, is your response to yourself, just so you know. Now, this retrograde is a reconsideration of who you are. You're going to reconsider with the Mercury at 21, what do I believe I'm becoming? Who am I going to be in my future? What am I going to be in my future? Am I going to be a loser, a winner, a rock star, a mechanic, a rock star's mechanic? Like, what am I going to be? So you're reconsidering what you're going to be in the future. And you're going to go all the way back down to, well, then I should treat myself this way. If I'm going to be this, then I need to treat myself that way. And that's the spectrum of Mercury retrograde. So Virgos, you don't know if you should sign up for school or take, start the diet or do this or do that. You're reconsidering in this Mercury retrograde all of your behavior and all of your responses. Like, someone says, knock, knock. Do you say who's there? That's a Mercury retrograde question. You're not going to be quite sure on how you respond to anything right now. And that's okay. You're under construction. Wear a shirt that says under construction because you are officially under construction in this birthday period. But happy birthday, Virgo. I sure love and appreciate you. Libras. Libras are creating a heartfelt intention now for their reputation, their popularity, like how popular they are or not, or what they're popular for, and their social status. So Libras are going for something in the world. They're going for something. What's interesting is I just want to point out the South Node in Libra also. As you are going for something in the world, you are withdrawing from something that you have been. So you're no longer someone's nanny. You're no longer someone's nag. You're no longer someone's reminder. And I say someone's because that's how your ego is. Your ego couples with people. You're always someone's something. That's how you always engage when it comes to the world. So with the South Node in Libra, you're no longer someone's something as you become something else in the world. So just keep that in mind that you can't have it all. You have to withdraw from one thing in order to do others. But you're now making a pledge to something your heart really wants in the world and who you want to be seen and how you want to be seen. This is the time for Libras to go for it. And you tend to be a little passive, procrastinate. You procrastinate a lot. You sort of put it off and you don't really usually raise your hand and say what you want to be. This is the time where it's time to raise your hand in class and tell the teacher you want to be a superhero or you want to be something magnificent or you want to shine in magnificence. Now, the square between Venus and Jupiter is that you're going to have to reconcile your social connections with your personal boundaries. It's like in some cases, you're too closed down. You need to open up. You need to try new things. You're not letting enough in. You're not really being open enough. Or you need to close down. You're saying yes to too many things. So whether you're open and closed to people or ice cream or situations or sex as well, this is the house of sexuality. This could be sex as well, intimacy. You have to reconcile that with, well, who am I in the world? What's my reputation? Who are my friends? What do I want the world to see or not see? So you're sort of going back and forth between where's the boundary and who am I in the world? How does that make me look in the world? Or what does that make my audience in the world? If I open up, let's say, to some of my privacy stuff, well, then in the world, I'm a much more compassionate and approachable person because I've changed my boundaries over here. It changes the way I'm perceived in society over there. So it's going back and forth between your boundaries and your openness in the world. Reality for you is around faith. So for Libras, faith is reality. And if you're in fear, that is your whole reality. So if a Libra is caught in fear or lack of faith, your whole reality is infected with that. You're the one sign where all of reality is caught up in whether or not you have faith or not. Now, this also means all of reality is caught up of whether or not you dwell in your fears or not. So if you dwell in your fears and you choose fear over faith, your whole reality is fear. It pollutes everything in your whole reality, basically, if you don't hold that faith. So faith, I believe, is a feeling. We can talk about this in deeper perspectives, but I believe faith is a feeling. I believe faith is something that you know it's going to be okay. And you're choosing that feeling over your thoughts. You're choosing that feeling over other feelings you have. You're choosing that feeling of faith over some of the facts that you know. You may have heard a lot of facts, but you still feel this faith. You still feel like you know something. So reality, your reality is your faith in yourself. And faith in yourself is the most important thing. This Mercury retrograde is going to be reconsidering your relationship to God. Okay, like, do I believe there is a God? Do I believe God's got my back? Do I believe I have good karma? Do I believe that it'll turn out okay? That God's got my back? All the way back to, do I have faith in myself to really pull this off? So this Virgo season for Libras will be a bit tougher than usual because you're not going to know what to think or what to have faith in. And you're going to have to find your faith as a feeling underneath all the facts and the things you usually rationalize in your air sign mind of yours. You're going to have to really go to the water, the faith, the Pisces energy, and see what you feel as a result. Scorpios. Scorpios are making a big devotion towards legacy, retirement, and their mark they plan to leave on the world. This also is in parenting. So you're committing to parenting, you're committing to legacy, you're committing to what retirement plans you want to have and how you want to retire and what that's going to look like in the end. So it's a commitment to something that is like a very pronounced as far as what you'll be known for. You know, let's say on your tombstone, like what is you going to be known for? This could be Scorpios making that commitment of saying, I want to be known for ... And we're talking about known for achievements, not public reputation. That's a little bit different. Achievement knowing for versus like what you posted on social media. Social media is the 11th house. Career legacy is the 10th house. There's a distinction there. Now, this square between Venus and Jupiter, is a square between some career decisions and relationships. So you're going to realize in some cases you're being faithful to relationships, maybe faithful to your marriage, maybe faithful to a partnership you have. And in some cases, your career is calling for you to put your career first and put that relationship on the back burner. So you're going back and forth between certain relationships. This would be exemplified in career relationships. So you may literally be going back and forth about a career relationship, a relationship to your publicist, a relationship to someone that works for you, your relationship to your boss, and how that affects the direction of your career. So back and forth between careers and relationships. And that could also be your relationship to alcohol and how that affects your career. So it's not always relationship to people or living things. Sometimes it's, substances or products. Now, the reality of Scorpio, this is interesting. What makes your reality is how well you are a friend to yourself. So whether or not you are a friend to yourself determines your reality. If you are your best friend, you have a great reality. If you are your worst enemy, you have a horrible reality. And by the way, everything in reality is the same. If you're bad to yourself, everyone's bad to you. If you're mean to yourself, everyone's mean to you. Basically, what a Scorpio doesn't realize is that how you treat yourself is how the world ends up treating you. And a Scorpio tends to be really offended by the way the world treats them when someone crosses or disrespects them. And they don't realize it's because it's okay for you. The reason why you're mad is because it's okay for you to treat you that way, but I'll be damned if my wife is going to treat me that way, or my publicist, or, my students. So how well of a friend you are to yourself smacks you in the face this week. And that may be due to something that happens that you don't like. So you might get bad news or something that you don't like hearing. And it's not about the news itself. It's about, well, were you a friend to yourself when that news came in? Were you really there for yourself, when that happened? So friendship to yourself is your reality. Now, the Mercury retrograde for you is from your social reputation, what you want to be known for in the world, what you want to be known for amongst your friends, what you want to be known for as far as your marketing campaign for your products or your business, all the way down to what kind of a friend you have to be to yourself in order to make that reputation happen. So you're not going to know what to think about where you belong in the world. You're not going to know what to think about what your campaign should be, where you should live, what you should do. You're basically reconsidering where should you be in the world and what should be your mental approach to the world. Sagittariuses. Hey, Sagis. Sagis are making a new heartfelt commitment to their life's purpose, their life story, their place in the universe, which is the galactic center. So you are ultimately deciding, this is where my place is in the universe. This is what my purpose is. This is my calling. This is the meaning of life for me. And it doesn't have to be big. It can be very, very small and very, very quaint. But you are making a devoted direction to a direction that your life and your purpose is headed. Now, what you have to reconcile with Venus squaring Jupiter is you have to look at how much knowledge you have, like what's your knowledge versus what's your daily routine. In some cases, you just need to get on and get her done. In some cases, you need more research. In some cases, you need more information. In some cases, you need to take a trip and actually visit the location before you make any kind of commitment or decision. So you're going back and forth between, what do I need to learn? What do I need to know? And what do I need to do right now? What do I need to pull off of my daily life? What do I need to manifest in my moment to moment life in order to follow that belief, or to follow that, or to get that knowledge? In some cases, you may say, I want this knowledge. What do I have to do in life to obtain that knowledge? In other cases, you might go, you know what? I can't do this in life because I want to go after this knowledge. So you might be putting things down at work or opening up to new things at work in order for the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of travel, or the pursuit of adventure, which is Sagittarius's biggest desire, is adventure. Where reality hits Sagittarius is self-discipline. If you are very disciplined with yourself, if you are there for yourself, then your reality is good. If you are half-ass and you don't show up, or you don't follow through with your commitments or promises to yourself, then reality sucks. So for Sagittarius, reality is all based on whether or not you show up for yourself and whether or not you make goals for yourself and you reach those goals. So you're going to face the reality of your current self-discipline situation from Wednesday from Wednesday for about a week to the following Wednesday. It's really a full week to the full moon that you are going to face that. The Mercury retrograde for you is going to be some deep, serious processing of where your career is headed and what you believe your career and legacy ought to be, all the way down to, okay, where am I going to discipline myself in order to get there? So Sagittarius are in a real moment of reconsidering their career options, their alliance options, if you're a business, what businesses you align with, and also parenting options. Sagittarius who are parents might be reconsidering what they want to do with their child going forward. Are we going to give them, to put them in public school? Are we going to put them in private school? All the way down to, well, what do I have to do in my daily life in order to make them, in order to give them the things that they need? So it's a real consideration of leadership and rethinking career legacy and self-discipline. Capricorns are making a devotion to changing their life. So Capricorns are making the leap. This is where you decide that you're going to go ahead and change. You're going to change your plans for everything. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and run for office, or I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up that business, or I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to retire now. And so it's sort of a free spot. In other words, you may be changing anything in your life, but by making that change, it's going to change everything. All right. So it's a commitment that will end up becoming a major thing to have to face. Now, the Venus-Jupiter square says that you're going to have to be finessing with certain boundaries with other people and balancing that with what your heart really wants. In some cases, your heart wants some things. And as a result, because your heart wants this, you're going to have to open up to that or close down to that. So you're going to have to go back and forth from opening to some things and closing to other things so that your heart can have something that you want. And you're going to realize in order to go in that creative direction, you're going to have to end something or open something. So it's about boundaries versus creativity, or boundaries versus love. This could also be, by the way, Capricorn, a decision that you're going to jump for intimacy. A lot of Capricorns are not intimate. They're close, but they're not intimate. They don't lose themselves or surrender to the oneness of being with another person. And these transits show that a lot of Capricorns are flirting with that potential. I think you'll be the greatest version of yourself you've ever been if you go for that leap and be intimate with someone that you care about. Now, that said, reality to a Capricorn is their belief in themselves. If they don't believe in themselves, if they don't believe in their potential, their whole life sucks. Everything in life sucks if they don't believe they can pull it off, if they don't believe it's possible. If they believe it's possible, then anything is possible. So the secret sauce to the Capricorns having a good life is believing in themselves, because everything falls into suit if they have that core belief in themselves. And remember, belief can be learned and earned. It's not something that is just a DNA. You have it or you don't have it. Okay. It's something that can be acquired. Now, the Mercury retrograde means that Capricorns are going to reconsider their life's purpose. So what is life about anyways? Why am I here? What's the big deal? Why should I even do this? And this is, I think, part of the transformation, the goal to transform your life. And it may be because you've decided to retire that you don't know what your life purpose is, or maybe because you decided that you're going to be intimate, that you're wondering if you've been aiming for the right things in life. But there's this big existential, philosophical question of what is life about anyways? Why are we here? Why am I here? Why did God put me on this planet? That's the Mercury retrograde in Virgo for you. And thinking through, well, should I go on a trip? Should I travel? Should I educate myself? Should I find more knowledge? All the way down to, do I really believe I can pull off this life purpose? Do I really believe this is my life purpose? So you could say a minor existential crisis for the Capricorns with this Mercury retrograde in Virgo. All right. Aquarius. Thank you, Esther. Aquariuses are, their heart is making a leap for marriage, self-mastery, or partnership. So their heart really wants marriage, partnerships, or self-mastery. So this is a time to go for it in the big picture of who you're going to align with and what you're going to do. This might be a relationship to a school, a relationship to a person, a relationship to a partner. It's all sorts of things. It is your heart wanting to relate to the world, wanting to relate to your husband, wanting to relate to your kids. Your heart is just dying to relate better. Now, the back and forth of Venus and Jupiter is you're going to reconcile between your relationships themselves and your emotional care. In some cases, you need care you can't give to your relationships. You have to be there for yourself. You got to put on your own oxygen mask before you put on someone else's. In other cases, you're too sensitive, you're over needy, you need too many Kleenexes, and it's getting in the way about your potential to do well with others. You're letting your emotional sensitivity get in the way of your relationships and get in the way of things going well. So it's a balance between the two, getting your feelings in order, getting your relationships in order, and finding a clarity between feelings and relationships, feeling good on your own and feeling good in your relationships as well. Hello, Nelly, welcome. Now, reality to Aquarius is their trust in themselves, okay? Whether or not they trust themselves or not. If you don't trust yourself, reality sucks. If you don't trust a situation, reality sucks. Aquariuses are very come see, come saw about trusting themselves. And so you're going to have the reality hit you in the face this week of how well you can trust yourself or not trust yourself, all right? Now, the Mercury retrograde for you is going to be thinking through a whole life transformation. So Aquariuses are going to reconsider maybe an entire makeover, maybe a career makeover, maybe a marriage makeover. You might be going, you know what? My heart is no longer in this marriage or partnership. And so now I have to think through all the terms of the divorce and all the terms of the separation. So it's not always going to be a happy ending for the partnership. It might be a happy ending for the individual that's not caught in a toxic partnership. But you're going to be rethinking everything you trust or don't trust, where your boundaries are or not where your boundaries are. Basically, everywhere the line must be drawn is going to be reconsidered. You're not going to know what to think about what's comfortable and what's not comfortable. I think this will be a very uncomfortable Mercury retrograde for Aquariuses because it's going to be hitting on a lot of sensitive spots of where the line is, where the line is not. But you will go from transformation of life all the way down to, do I trust myself or not? Basically is the arc of that. And that's for the Aquariuses. So Aquarius is in a very tender spot with emotion, boundaries, and relationships. And then finally, the Pisces. Pisces are aiming for a new daily work or routine. They're going for something their heart wants in day-to-day work, something their heart wants as far as the quality of life. Maybe you want to retire to the Bahamas. Maybe you want to open up your own company. Maybe your heart wants to, play for a living. But it's about going for a lifestyle that your heart wants or a work style that your heart really, really wants. Where you have to reconcile between the two is your daily routines and your thinking. Sometimes your thinking gets in the way of getting things done. Sometimes you're doing so much work or so much stuff that you haven't really thought about the consequences of it. So you have to reconcile your thinking and your routines, the tasks you sign up for and the actual logic involved. Is this logical for me to do this every day? Doing this every day, does it give me a bad attitude or a good attitude? So how does your attitude relate to your routines and your work duties and your day-to-day stuff that you have to do? So also communication. How does communication affect my coworkers, and the people I work with every day? So it's reconciling your attitude about daily life and your duties of daily life and finding a balance for they both will work. Reality to a Pisces, a Virgo, is their mirage. So how you treat yourself is what inevitably turns up to be your reality. So very much like Virgos in that sense, where if you treat yourself poorly and you approach yourself as a loser, then your whole life stinks. So how you approach yourself actually sets up for how it is that you relate to everything in the world. And so if a Pisces is moping, if a Pisces is sad, then every relationship is sad, then everything in life is sad. So the secret sauce to a Pisces is really how that fish relates to the other fish and how the two fish swim around. Are you chasing your tail or are you facing yourself head on? That's the question for Pisces. So the reality of your relationship to yourself will hit pretty hard this week, and you'll have some undeniable evidence of whether or not you treat yourself well or you approach your marriage in a good perspective. Now, the Mercury retrograde for you is going to be everything from your partnerships, who you partner with, who you should align with, who you shouldn't align with, all the way down to your marriage, your relationship to yourself, and how you treat yourself. So Pisces are in some deep processing in this Mercury retrograde about where their relationships are, how they fit in their relationships or don't fit in their relationships, what relationships work or what relationships don't work. And you'll be very unclear about Pisces, I think, in your relationships until Mercury is direct. So if you're in a relationship with a Pisces, stand back, give them the time. Again, Pisces, it's all based on how you treat yourself. If you're treating yourself poorly, then all of your relationships are not going poorly. So it's not always the other person's fault in the relationship. A lot of times it's three fingers pointing back at you. All right. That went a little longer, but it was worth it, I think. Our tea time and our soul horoscopes. I ask you now to stick around. We have our AstroMingle segment here, where we're going to have on Meghan Jones. We're going to talk about integrative wellness and her coaching process. We're going to have a little intermission here. And what we're going to do is, in case you came in late, many people did, we're going to replay the Zodiac Weather as our intermission. And so I'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. Stay tuned. This Zodiac Weather is from Saturday, August 19th to Friday, August 25th, 2023. Starting off with the weekend ahead, it's going to be a weekend of committing to your heart's direction and the moon in Libra finding the balance of that commitment. Let's drill down. On Saturn Day, it's sunny and devoted. Step 26 means Saturn does rule Saturn Day. You're committing to your heart's destiny. And with the sun trining the nose at 26-degree Aries, this also means you're committing to a new characterization of yourself. On Sunday, it's sunny and sparkling. Step 27 means Mars rules the day. It's now time to act and initiate the magic of your creation. Move forward, and with the moon in Libra, you'll be balanced when you take that action. Now on to our weekday 5-day mood forecast. Looking at the week ahead, we wrap up the sun in Leo and we plunge into the sign of Virgo. Let's drill down. On Monday, it's sunny and glowing. Step 28 means that Earth rules the day, and we have 3 active yads in place this day. This is a day where you have to hold space and faith to hatch your golden egg project. And the moon moves into Scorpio by the end of the day, which means you may feel a little defensive going forward. On Tuesday, it's sunny and securing. Step 29 means Chiron rules the day. It's time to buckle up, Buttercup. You're getting tested on all matters of love and creativity. And with Venus squaring Jupiter, it's also a turning point between your heart's creation and how you're going to go about doing it. On Wednesday, it's cloudy and misty. Step 0 Virgo is the ruling step number. The sun has now transited into Virgo. That means the new meality has arrived. Mercury stations retrograde on this day, which begins a re-examination of the details necessary to pull off your intentions. On Thursday, it's sunny and optimistic. Step 1 means Leo and the sun rules the day. It's a new meality. You're witnessing the heart fully realized today. The moon is in Sagittarius, so you are feeling your story being updated. And with Mars trining Pluto, you may also sense that there's going to be a transformation of who's in control. And then on Friday, it's cloudy and shifting. Step 2 means the moon rules the day. And with the moon in Sagittarius, it means you are examining what you believe. You're also feeling the truth of your new reality with no details falling under the radar. And we're back. Hello, folks. This is the AstroMingle portion of our show here, and I'm happy to be with one of our Serious Joy subscribers and a longtime viewer. In fact, I had the pleasure of giving her a reading not too long ago and realized, oh my gosh, I want to share her with the world. Hello, Meghan Jones. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be with you.
I'm happy for you to be here too. Happy belated birthday too, by the way.
Thank you. It was yesterday and my step birthday. They aligned this year.
Woohoo! Well, then this is a birthday present then. This turned out
Yeah.
absolutely perfectly.
Exactly.
So remind me, does that make you a step? What step number are you then? We're at
20, 24, Leo.
Oh my goodness. And you face fear on this birthday too. So a
Oh,
radiant
I
shining
did.
Leo. Did you really?
Yeah, it was a lot of a release, a lot of emotional release all day yesterday.
Okay. So it's one of those birthdays where you were play the fiddle, literally. And that's a wow. We got to. It was maybe with the thorn in the lion's paw.
Exactly.
I felt it too. I got a Leo rising. Yesterday was hard. It was a difficult 24 hours. So thank you for coming on and being a part of the show. We
Oh,
appreciate
happily.
it.
Yeah.
I want to bring it to my, to my subscribers and my viewers, because you're doing something I think is super important. You call yourself a holistic integrative wellness coach, which is a mouthful. It is. In essence, how would you define what that is so people can understand what you do?
I look at all of you. So it's really, really important. There's nothing that's separate. What we eat, what we exercise, it doesn't matter if you do Tai Chi or if you're an Ironman triathlete, right? If you have internal time, meditation, or if you walk in commune with Tree Nation or whatever, your relationships, right? Then nothing is separate. So some people will come to me for, work-life health balance, where they just feel like everything is spinning, they're overwhelmed and it's out of control. Some people have really bad RA and want to chase after their grandchildren. Some people are a conundrum to their registered dietitian. Oh, I don't know what to do with you. And they're, early 30s, hypoglycemic, hypothyroid, and actually quite healthy. And I'm not medical, but I can work with them. And I encourage them to also speak with their doctors. And I shift people into, you said in my reading, I'm sort of a messenger of health healing. I just help heal your life. And it's a lot through food and motion and internal. That's a mouthful also.
Oh, that's great. I think it's a great explanation. And I think you're spot on. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to share you, is because, a lot of people have, I imagine you work a lot with food, which I think is super important. We'll talk about food, because food has become poison in our nation. I know that. And there's a lot to navigate around with food. But a lot of times when people have food issues, it's like they just calorie cut, or they go to the gym, and it's like you're only really dealing with the runny nose. You're not dealing with the issue of why you were eating that way in the first place. So you can't just look at it, as a eating habit. It's much more than that, right?
Exactly. It's much more than that. And our emotions in balance or imbalanced informs our eating, and what we eat informs our emotional balance and our mental clarity. Same way, if we're mental foggy and emotionally imbalanced, then we go into certain foods that then maybe feed that imbalance. So it's really important to look at everything happening in your life, especially food.
Absolutely. I have to say, I'm aware, and I still do anyways. I know I'm sad. I know I'm craving the Oreo cookie. I know the Oreo cookie is going to make me feel good for 1 second. I know it's going to go straight to my butt.
Exactly. Well, and it's also looking at the layers underneath, right? Somebody messaged me the other day on Instagram. He's trying to look more at intuitive eating. And he's like, why do I eat at 9:30 at night when I'm not hungry? I'm not hungry, but I'm eating at 9:30 at night. Some of it is habit, some of it is pattern, but also look at the layers, right? There's not just one onion, there's a whole freaking bag of onions, right? And it could be something emotional. It could for him, he was like, okay, I associate with relaxation. And so you look at like, what did that mean maybe as a kid? What does that mean now? What could that look like? That's not food, so it's that sort of thing that I play with people.
Yeah. And night is when I think a lot of us eat at night, which you're not supposed to before bedtime. And it's like life starts to catch up with you in those quiet hours, I found.
Yep. It does.
Life starts to hit you.
Yeah.
How did you get down into this direction in your career? What drew you to be, part of nutrition and eating and life balance?
Because I was really out of balance.
Okay. So it comes
Like
from
way
your
out of
own-
balance. So there's that fine line between genius and insanity, right? And then so right now I look at food and I look at like really cleaning up eating and what foods, like adding foods for me to thrive and feel good and feel stronger and internally powerful, same for other people. And I was looking at it as some sort of quick fix to make me feel better because I felt terrible. Like my romantic relationship was not good. All my friendships mirrored that. All I was doing was trying to please, him and my friends and my parents. And I had no idea what I wanted or what I liked. So I went under 1,200 calories a day, or I went fat free because it was the 80s, or I went no carbs because it was the 90s, or I over exercised. I'd use exercise as punishment for what I ate, or I used exercise as permission to eat. And it would all be like, I'm going to exercise this many calories. It was just, I was a hot mess and my life reflected that identically. And so I was at New World Symphony, is this orchestra in Miami. And this man came to speak. His name is Dr. Don Green, Greene. He's amazing. Peak performance coach. He works with musicians, pro golfers, SWAT teams, people that have like performance anxiety or high stress. And I thought this was like 97 or 98. I heard him speak and I was like, I could see how he could help people. And then you fast forward, it's almost 21 years to the day because it was like the day before my birthday, 21 years.
Wow.
And I was having a huge meltdown, like nuclear meltdown. And I was like, okay, I wonder if Don Green takes one-on-one clients. Like I remembered him 4 years later or whatever. So I reached out to him and I studied with him for 2 years. And what he gave me were like, it wasn't books on food, but it related to everything. It was like Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics, awesome book. Abraham Hicks, Thich Nhat Hanh, the Gnostic Gospels, and I just was like, oh my God, all these people are saying the same thing. And it really did shape how I took auditions. It shaped how I played violin. It shaped how I saw my relationships. And I kept digging in and reading. And then super truncated, I found a therapist after I had worked with him for a couple of years who had serendipitously read all the same books, right?
Beautiful.
Worked with her for a couple of years. She was a lifesaver. And then she said, do you really want to release? Like just release and start shifting. And I said, well, yeah, like a lot. So she sent me to this energy worker who's a powerful, like cranial sacral sound healer. She'll speak with you, but she's speaking with her guides to your guides. And at one point she said, I think you would enjoy a retreat with my shaman. So I went to this retreat. I went to another. I've now been working with this shaman one-on-one for about 13, 14 years. Her name is Kristen White. She's an incredible friend, incredible teacher, mentor. And I started to see, I can't even, I'm such a different person from all of that. And then I was playing with food on my own, all the food stuff I did on my own. And I was the guinea pig for better or for worse, through all the ads, all the trends, and that's how I learned how to listen to myself and intuit what I need to eat and the intuitive eating going into that. But then I enrolled in IIN, Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Okay.
And they taught health coaching. I was like the first video they showed on introduction, or it was like fundamentals or whatever. I was crying. I was like, I'm home at this school. So that's where I started to be able to just dork out and get nano and certified and help people. And so it's been like a long journey from really imbalanced to I'm still balancing. A lot, but I'll forever be balancing, but now I can help other people balance also.
Well, and I think to the future practitioners, you have to, eat your own medicine. If you haven't actually walked the path, I don't think people are going to trust anymore. There's just too many false institutions. And, even in food, I have to say, I don't trust the FDA anymore. I don't trust any of our government organizations around food, organics versus non-organics. I don't know what to trust or where to go anymore. No. So I think that we're all turning towards practitioners like you have sort of beat the pavement and figured it out for themselves and made it work for themselves. Plus the fact that you have this spiritual component to you, I think makes you so unique because you never hear about that in diets about the emotional eating or anything like that. It's always like, cut your calories, you're too indulgent, lessen the donuts. So what kind of client is it that you typically attract? Are you attracting people with weight loss issues, people with depression? all the above?
Yes, all of the above. And yes, I am. And I mean, some of them have deep weight loss issues. And obviously there's, emotional and energetic padding going on there. And there are people who are also underweight, who may pad in other ways, like clutter, right? So it's interesting who comes to me. The people who really come to me, because if you look at the spectrum, I know it's hard to like find a thread, but it's the people who are just ready in capital letters, like done being a conundrum, done with the, I think one of my clients calls it diet trauma. She's just been on a diet since she was like in 5th grade. And I trained myself to drink Diet Coke, and now I have to, so I get people who range from triathletes and, world-class rowers to people who really resist getting their heart rate up. It's more that it's all connected, and they come to me. There are people who say, I think I came to you for different reasons than I came to you. So some people will come to me through food, and then we unpack a whole lunch.
Yeah, that's very well said.
There you go, Freudian, right? A whole lot of stuff around it, so they can find food freedom, whether they need to eat or whether they need to shift their relationship with food so that it's actually their friend and fuel instead of this enemy that they turn to and makes them feel comfortable, but like in a devilish way.
Yeah, it's funny how we have a weird relationship to food when we shouldn't be. I mean, humans should not have got to this point where food was either good or bad,
Well, and I was thinking about this morning because somebody said a long time ago, I heard someone said, well, squirrels never think, what should I eat?
Right, I know. Like, is bad, or is this a GMO nut?
Right, exactly. I mean, if you're at a park and you're giving them like some junk food popcorn, unfortunately, they'll probably eat it. But just like in everyday life, squirrels don't ponder what they should eat.
Right.
But
they're always gathering, they're always eating. Yeah, exactly. Deer and all the wildlife. It's interesting. They're so natural, their relationship to food, but not us. We've gotten way off on it. You mentioned in our reading that you talked about how one of the things you do with the client with food issues is you do a tour of their fridge.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's a pantry and fridge call. It's really fun and it's really nerdy.
No, I love it. So what does that look like? They end up showing you all their guilty
it's virtual. So it's like Zoom like this. And they carry me around with their phone or with their computer. Sometimes their dog's there or their kid. And we look at, it's like 30 minutes. And we look at, and it's not judgy like at all. It's actually just meant to be fun. And a lot of people come in excited, but some people come in hesitant. And by the end of it, like we have to make sure we end because they want to keep reading labels. So we're looking at like what's on the label. We're looking at learning to find inflammatory ingredients. We're looking to find some hidden sugars. We're looking to find some like easy swaps to not have them be like, oh my God, now I have to like change all of my go-to products. I can never eat pasta. I can never eat bread. I can never eat. No, that's not it. You can. Yeah. It's just better if you find the ones that are clean, that you can pronounce the ingredients.
Oh, totally. I mean, and I'm sad. Some things too, being a Gen Xer, it's like, I grew up on ketchup and now I found out it's it's just
but there is so Primal Kitchen, look for the brand called Primal Kitchen. You can still eat ketchup.
Oh, yay. Well, thank you. I'm excited. My inner child still wants these things, but it's like,
I know ketchup is great.
But and there's all sorts of things with seed oils and all sorts of stuff too, I imagine. It's like, there's so much to know. How do you, are you just constantly nerding out and researching? Because it seems like the food industry is constantly changing. They're as soon as we kind of get smart as a culture, they hide in another ingredient.
They do. And they also are allowed to hide it in packaging. Because, so one of the questions people can ask, right, are what are the no-nos, right? So
that is one of my questions. What are the three? Let's say what the three no-nos are.
And I mean, in all honesty, there's nothing you need to restrict or deny. It's all choice, right? It's all choice because we want to make it sustainable. So basically, just because it says vegan or gluten-free or keto or has healthy looking, awesome packaging does not actually mean it's healthy. It really does not. Vegan doesn't equal healthy. Vegan actually equals a lifestyle that's, animal product free, including leather and eating and supplement external, not gelatin capsule holder things. I'm speaking English very poorly, but
No, I gotcha.
it's the lifestyle, right? And gluten-free, if you're celiac, I mean, please, right? But the gluten-free products, often to make them have flavor, they add sugar and other things in there that doesn't equal healthy, right? But there are gluten-free grains that exist in the world just simply because they're gluten, right? I'm 5 feet tall, I'm short, not because I tried to be short, I'm short, right? These are gluten-free just because they're gluten-free. Like almond flour or quinoa or buckwheat or, well, oats, as long as they're processed on a gluten-free belt. And right, there's a lot of ins and outs, but that's one thing, is just because it says vegan, gluten-free, keto, healthy, it's not, right? The other thing is there's no one size fits all diet. There's not.
Right.
There's not, and or way of eating. People get real passionate. They get passionate, and passion is fine, but they'll say you're not being compliant to this WOE, right? To this way of eating. And but that way of eating might not benefit me or your body or the other person's body. It's actually, thank goodness, my health coaching school, IIN, they teach us bio-individuality. It's your body. No single diet's going to fit you. Will you eat more vegan, gluten-free, plant-based direction? Maybe, right? But there's not going to be something that's going to stick to you. And
how do we determine? So how do you know if it's, you say different diets are different people? Is it that you're just monitoring how you feel afterwards? How's a person determining the right diet for them?
Well, it's learning to speak fluent body, right? It's learning. So you can do fun things like look at exactly what you're eating. Okay, I'll give you an example of one client. So there's one client that I was working with, and we were looking at exactly what she was eating and trying to look at also her emotions and her physical feelings, because it could be based on 2 days ago food. Like if you're carbo loading for a Sunday marathon, you're going to carbo load Friday, so you run on it Sunday, right? So it could be that we're looking at your, if you're looking at your food, sleep and food, you kind of use for 48 hours. And she said, I realized that I get past the point of hungry at lunchtime often, and she was reading that as anxiety. She was misreading. It was a mistake, like you like to say, right? It was okay. It was just the wrong take of her body's language saying, I'm hungry. And she was reading anxiety, but her body would run that kind of feeling. And so she was going to practice stepping just in front of that. And maybe when she gets an inkling or thinks, oh, I wonder, she'll start to make lunch and just get a little ahead of herself so she can eat at the right time for her system, right? There's another client, and we play again. You just play with the foods. There's nothing, it's choices, and it's choices to be aware. And so if she was eating dairy, she was not like allergic, little intolerant, but she noticed that every time she ate dairy, she woke up in the morning, low brain fog. But it wasn't bad, but brain fog, but she's a violinist. She wants to get up. She wants to be clear. She wants to be on point. If she has to be in some meeting, she wants to talk well. So she's going to choose that if there's something big the next day, she's going to eat something different than dairy, and then maybe eat dairy after the big thing. But it's that kind of, how do you learn to listen to your body? It's literally learning to listen to your body to try to speak fluently. You might think it's anxiety, or you might think, oh, your energy always crashes at 4. It doesn't have to crash at 4. You don't have to crash.
Interesting. That's a common one. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, and managing caffeine and things like that.
Yeah.
So what are some ingredients that you feel like, just some simple takeaways of maybe ingredients of a healthy food that everyone should have, like 3 or 4 healthy foods that everyone should have that's good for them?
Water.
Okay. What do you mean water? I like coffee.
Water. What do you mean water? Yeah, exactly. Water. And I mean, if all you take away from this little interview we have is to add 1 more glass of water to your day, preferably first thing in the morning, because our bodies are not 70% green tea, nor coffee, nor Red Bull. Our bodies are 70% water. So if you start your day by drinking a glass, you don't have to chug it, just drink it while you're like pushing play on the coffee player and do it. Coffee.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm 2-fisted myself. Yeah.
No, pushing start on the coffee maker. I said push play on the coffee player.
Gotcha.
But drink, whoops. So just drink water. That's number 1. The other thing is I'm going to keep going, but veggies, more than you think you need. Half of your plate for every meal, and play. How many, like green things, especially, you could have spinach, arugula, baby kale, Swiss chard, broccoli, broccolini, bok choy, asparagus. How many green things can we name, right? And then also the beautiful rainbow, add some colors because they bring in different phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are like what makes the red pepper different from the green pepper, different from, a beet, different from like the different colors, right? And we need all of those. Half your plate veggies, just eat them freely.
Okay.
And
that's
mindful,
so rare
healthy.
in America.
It's so rare.
So rare. America, like you get a dinner, or even like you get a dinner like in a corporate restaurant, God forbid that's sin, but it's like always like a scoop of like tiny vegetables and like a big ass piece of meat.
Exactly. As like 4 brown green beans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It seems like we give the less. And what about and I don't want to interrupt you, but just the life force in vegetables, that there's more, it's not dead.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we could have an entire conversation on like high vibration. Like if you want, and I want to share some more things that people really would benefit from eating, like water and vegetables. There's more,
Go ahead.
but in Serious Joy, especially like here, Namaste today, your followers, your Serious Joiner, the people in the Facebook club, if you want a clearer connection to spirit, if you want clearer connection to your guidance, angels, ascended masters, whoever you're trying to tap into, the higher the vibration of the food, which is, Mother Nature, edamame is going to have a higher vibration than a Cliff Bar or, something like that. So if you clean up your food and your system, you also clear up your connection. And I actually have a whole bunch of Pisces clients. I love and somehow collect Pisces. And a lot of them have birthdays around the teens in March. And 2 of them, one lives in Louisiana, one in Bismarck. They've said separately to me, because they still eat animal protein, but the more plant-based I eat, the more, and they run meetings, the more I can read the room, the more I can sense and feel and run the energy of the meeting exactly how I want, the more I can come to the table with. And I'm not saying by no means do you have to be vegan or plant-based or anything, but the more cleanly you eat and drink and sleep and live, the more open your channel is.
Yeah. Brilliant. So I interrupted you. Water, half a plate of vegetables, or
mindful amounts of healthy fat. We have to eat fat. There's that saying, I think it's from the 90s. The fat you eat is the fat you wear. Just ignore that.
Okay.
We have to eat. Now we need healthy fats with mindful amounts. So raw nuts and raw seeds, very, very good. Not the processed ones that have been through like on the conveyor belt that the dragon's been like, and they like roast all the nutrients out.
Okay.
Raw. Trader Joe's has a great array of raw nuts and seeds. Some of those other brands you can find in the store. If you turn the label over and it says almonds, buy it.
Right. That's the ingredient. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the list. Pistachios, buy it. So avocados, great. And then if you eat oil, because there are some people who don't eat oil, but if you eat oil, just knowing which, and during the pantry and fridge, we go over this, but knowing which oils are the anti-inflammatory oils and knowing which if you go out to eat, you need to go out to eat. So that's going to be your 20%. So just let them cook with the subsidized cheaper oils. And at home, give yourself the cleaner oils like olive oil, avocado oil, walnut oil, coconut oil in moderation because it's a saturated fat. So be real mindful about cook with coconut oil, but be mindful, right? Adequate protein. At least the United States is super protein crazy, and so you'll eat like a lot of these bars and supplements and stuff that are all processed in a lab. I know all food is processed because you have to pick an apple and stuff. People bring that up to me all the time. I mean like lab created stuff. If you eat plant-based, you can get tons of like broccoli has some, spinach has some. You can go into like the legumes and the pulses, and some tempeh is wonderful, and you can go into this stuff. But adequate protein for your body, how do you know that? You play and you learn. You figure out the amounts, and you'd put it maybe, if you have dairy yogurt, maybe that would be a little bit towards your protein in the morning, or plant-based yogurt has a little, if it's almond milk and not coconut, right? You just learn where it is. And like mindful whole grains and starches, the ones like if you look at the bag, you turn it over and it says quinoa, get it and make that and eat it. It's the highest protein containing grain. I think in general across the board, those servings are like half a cupish. If you go to like a Thai restaurant or an Asian restaurant, they're going to give you a mound o rice. That's probably 2 to 3 times a normal portion because just nutrient density, right? You can eat a lot more bok choy than you can nuts as far as nutrient density goes. Nuts are higher concentrated, right? I mean, I need to be mindful of time, but like natural sugars too, like just the fruits. If you eat honey, raw honey, maple syrup, agave, just doing your best for natural fruits and not the processed ones.
Yeah, makes total sense. And we know sugars is an enemy too.
Well, it's addictive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a drug. Yeah. Okay. And one last point I want to make before we have to transition. You talk about intuitive eating. Can you just explain what does intuitive eating mean? Because my intuition is going for apple pie at 2 a.m. I don't know if I can trust my intuition. What is intuitive eating to you?
To me, it's actually, again, it's like learning your body's cues, right? My body's cues are going to be different, right? I'm pretty even keeled at this point that I'm clean out. I get really emotional or really sensitive or really something. And then I'm like, you know what? I think I need to eat. Some people get like my client, she gets anxious, right? So it's your body knows. I don't know if it's intuition that brings us to apple pie in the evening, or if it's habit, pattern, addiction, but physical cravings because we've had apple pie and it's not bad. I mean, I eat sweets. I love sweets. I just eat sweets, ones that are not going to make me crazy, like a whole cookie or an ice cream cone, which I'll have occasionally too. But I'll often ask clients like, okay, so if things need to shift with your gut health and your potty time, because we do have to talk about that. It's really important to talk about taking in as well as eliminating, right? If you came up with something, what would you say? And usually they spout out one thing right away. Mm-hmm. Maybe they say salt, maybe they say coffee, maybe they say Diet Coke, whatever, it doesn't matter. But and then playing with like, it's a choice. It's a choice. Like my body is running clean, but I started to feel bloated. I started to feel weird. And I was like, what's something I eat all the time? Oatmeal. Oatmeal's great, clean, versatile, awesome. I was like, all right, I'll play. And I pulled it out and the bloating went away and I had a little oat sensitivity going on and buckwheat serves me more. So it's more, what does your body feel like? Are you bloated? There's something going on. Is it the apple pie at night? Maybe, right? It's sort of like if you're thinking you might want an orange carrot with dinner, you're sort of thinking about what you're going to make and you go to the fridge and you open the fridge and there's butternut squash. You might be like, oh, that was actually the orange. That sounds delicious and it shapes my whole dinner. It could, I think, because you learn the clean ingredients and you learn to balance your meals and snacks and the umbrella of your day, like with healthy fats and whatever. And then you start to layer in the fine tuning, like avocado serves me better at lunch than dinner, which is weird. And if you really want a bagel and you're eating like 80% clean, maybe it's your 6-year-old. Maybe the 6-year-old needs a bagel. Go eat a bagel. Enjoy every single bite. You might not feel great after if you're running clean. And then, I don't know, does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot. That's very clear. Yeah. So you're basically saying it's tuning into your body and tuning into the messages of your body and realizing that it could also be symbolic. The orange carrot means something orange. And just sort of, watching and mapping out how you eat and then how you feel. It sounds like monitoring how you feel after is the best way to start to understand the patterns is what I'm saying.
Yes. And before, what am I feeling? So it could be like that other client who is like, I want to eat at 9:30 and I'm not hungry. Just checking, just like one little thing. What do I need? What do I need? Maybe you need to go cry and you actually don't need food.
Yeah. Right.
What do I need? Maybe I need to actually go outside for a second, have a drink of water and check if I'm actually hungry. It's also that because there's a good chance it's not food that you need.
Well said. How can people get in touch with you? Your company is called Wellness on Purpose. We're going to put up your website here. And what's the first step with you to get involved with you?
Well, I mean, if people want to, because you were mentioning that the pantry and fridge sounded cool, those are really fun. And they're 30 minutes and it's just, you and me on a Zoom, and we just kind of dork out about labels and you really learn how to read them. I'll send you text pictures of like oils and stuff, and whatever we talk about, I would follow up and send you brands. Those are fun. So people could go, you can go on my website is wellnessonpurpose.org. And you could find that there and play around. You can find me on Instagram at wellness_on_purpose. It's the same on TikTok, and on Facebook, I'm Meghan Jones. My private group is Eating Healthy and Finding Balance. There's lots of ways. I love to message and talk with people. If you message me, I will get back to you and I will talk to you. I will talk to everyone who messages me. And if you feel like you actually are ready, like the clients who come to me and say, I think I just need to work and strengthen with you. My discovery calls are free. We would talk for 30 minutes about what's coming up for you, if my program is a good fit for you, So the pantry and fridge would be really fun. I highly recommend that. But if you want to work with me, reach out to me.
Beautiful. And she's a fabulous, loving Leo. So thank you, Meghan. Thank you so much for being a part of our show and showing up and turning around so quickly, because we just had a reading recently. So thank you for being available.
I appreciate it so much.
We love you and we appreciate you. Everyone, check her out at wellnessonpurpose.org. And I'm sure she'll be around the community as well.
Yeah,
you might
I will.
find comments for you there. All right. Well, thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
We appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So here we go. There. And we're back. That's a little awkward, but thank you for the transition time, everyone. Thanks. I noticed the comments during this. People really like that. So thank you. And please, in the comments too, let us know if there's, in the comments under YouTube or anywhere else, if you have someone like Meghan, someone who has some sort of great trait, who also is spiritually inclined. What I liked about Meghan is that she's not just talking about diet, she's talking about emotions and happiness and all sorts of things. We're very interested in getting these people out in front of our community and sharing with the world our light and our brightness. So just reach out to us or email us at support@seriousjoy.com. We'd be happy to have you on our show. And speaking of seriousjoy.com, seriousjoy.com is the place to go if you want soul support 7 days a week. We never rest. You get messages every day. We have pep talks every morning. We are here with our whole crew for you at seriousjoy.com. You can try for $3.99 and you'll have amazing spiritual support. We've got so much going on. One of the things we have right now, I check it out, our Mega Monthlies reports. I do a Mega Monthly report for all 12 signs. So much like you just had in your soul horoscope. This month is Finding Your Inner Merlin. This is something that everyone listens to. They're about 15 to 20 minutes per sign. So you can listen to your sun sign and your rising sign. And it's important to re-listen. If you are a subscriber, go take another listen, because if you remember, I get in very deep about what Virgo will mean for you and what Mercury Retrograde will mean for you. That is off of our main page in the lobby. You just hit Mega Monthlies and then click your sign. Plus there's a mega address with all 12 people. We also have a weekly live show on Serious Joy called the Soul Support Group. And this week, I am the host. We're doing the Golden Egg Project, which ultimately is bringing 3 people on camera from our community, talking in depth about what's your project, looking at your astrology chart, seeing where you're blocked, teaching you how to manifest that abundance. That will be live at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, by the way, for those who are subscribers. If you subscribe to Serious Joy, you can catch it live on this Wednesday. And so many people are working on their personal dreams right now. You would really benefit from watching this show. This show is the most popular show I think we have, because people love to talk about manifestation and personal dreams. Literally, I cannot do enough of them, but that is live this Wednesday. Looking forward to that. Sharing is caring. We are grateful for everyone. The greatest thing you can do is to simply share us with your friends and your family. Point them to this live show that's every Friday night and bring them aboard. It's the nicest thing you can possibly do. We also appreciate donations. Some people have donated. They don't want to subscribe or they don't want a reading. They want to just donate. I'm happy to take a donation. It's great practice to receive as much as it is to give. For donations, we go to PayPal, paypal.me/Sensei Christopher. If you'd like to be a part of our community and rub elbows or promote your own spiritual services, come on down to our Facebook club. That's at seriousjoy.club. Please answer the questions, though, because we're always looking for bots and trolls, and we approve everyone that comes into the club. So we're going to base it on whether or not you're a human being that answered questions or not. But come on to seriousjoy.club and be a part of our community. And again, you are welcome to advertise your own spiritual services in the club. Only spiritual, though, not Bitcoin or debt reduction. If you're interested in following us on social media, we do have a linked tree account that has every social media account, my personal ones, our professional ones, our company ones. That's at seriousjoy.social. So come to seriousjoy.social. You have access to everything, including a couple of interviews that I've been on in the past. So if you want to get to know more about me, you'll find that at seriousjoy.social, some references there. And some people would rather listen than watch this show every week. We're happy to have that. We do have it available by Saturday morning, but we are on a podcast, 3 platforms. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, and we're on Apple Podcasts. All righty. Well, that wraps up another exciting show. Boy, we went a full 2.5 hours this week, but I don't regret it. This is an important time. We got deep on all 12 signs. I'll be back in 1 week with more. Until then, friends, remember, I do love you and appreciate you. Live love.